Howdy, howdy. Hope everybody can hear me just fine. It's a little chilly. Much better. All right, I just gotta finish setting things up because, yeah, sorry about running late. Gotta create the, there we go. We will bring up our first guest in just a moment, everybody. I just gotta finish something. All right, I think that we're all set to go. Hope my audio's good. Let's bring up our first guest. What's today? Today's the 6th? All right, I feel like we've talked to Top Geese. But let's bring up Top Geese. I just don't remember.
Hello,
Top
still
Geese.
me.
We've spoken before,
just
right?
to say I'm sorry. Yeah, what?
It's okay. Let's talk to Mario. Live isn't early, live is perfectly on time. Mario, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing as well as I can be. Mario, how old do you think the Earth is?
How old do I think it is? I think it's about 6,000.
Okay, and why so?
I'm getting that belief from the Bible.
Okay, and if you were to find evidence that conflicted with the Bible in any way, would you discard the evidence, or would you discard that part of the Bible?
I mean, if something contradicts the Bible and it to be true, I would be very open-minded.
Okay, so what about the scientific claims that the Earth is far older than 6,000 years?
Well, how old is the scientific claim saying?
About 4.5 billion.
Why 4.5? Why not 5? Or why not 4?
Because the data says 4.5.
What's the data?
That particular number comes from radiometric dating via zircon crystals.
Gotcha. And it says exactly 4.5? Exactly?
No, I said about 4.5.
4.5?
I think the current consensus number is something like 4.54 billion plus or minus 50 million.
That's interesting. Well, I'm assuming you're atheist, right?
Yeah, but that's not really relevant to the discussion.
Why is that not relevant?
Well, because you can be a Christian and still think that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old.
No, you can't.
Sure you can. I know plenty of them.
Well, just because a Christian believes that the Earth is, billions of years old doesn't mean that what the Bible preaches. There's Christians out there that say Jesus is not God.
Well, I don't think that there are.
There are. It's called Unitarians.
So, I mean, it's not clear to me that a Christian is someone who thinks that Jesus is not God, that's like a viable definition of what a Christian is. But even if that were the case, then you can still be Christian. As you're saying, you could be Christian, believe Jesus isn't God. Then equivalently, you could be Christian, believe that the Earth is not 4.5 billion years old.
No, you can't believe that Jesus is not God and be a Christian.
But you just said that there are Christians that don't believe Jesus is God, so apparently you can be.
Well, I'm going off by your logic because I'm putting parentheses like quote unquote that they're so-called Christians that believe in stuff that's not in the Bible. That's what I'm saying. Like they're quote unquote they're fake Christians.
Oh, they're fake Christians. I mean, like, I don't know, man. Generally, my view is that if somebody calls themselves something, then like you should believe them unless you have good reason to think otherwise. Now, my view is generally that a Christian is someone who thinks that Jesus died, rose from the dead, and is in some way divine. Would you say that that's a pretty good description of what being a Christian is, like kind of like the fundamental aspect of Christianity?
Yeah, I would say so, but there's one more element to that, I would say.
Which is?
Sorry, there's a ambulance passing by. Sorry,
You're fine.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, I would say all of that. The one element is believing that the blood of Jesus atones for our sins, like it cleanses all of our sins.
Yeah, that too. That's a good point. I left that out. But like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you could be a Unitarian and believe both of those things. Believe that Jesus's blood, Jesus's death atones for your sins, and that Jesus died and rose from the dead and is in some way divine. You could believe both those things and still be a Unitarian, right?
No, because in Acts it says that it was God's blood that shed on the cross, not just any.
Well, no, but
human
that's not what you said earlier. You didn't say that that's what's required to be a Christian. You said that what's required to be a Christian is that you believe that Jesus's blood is what atones for your sins.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is that maybe I should have implied, or maybe I should have said to be more clear, that God's blood, who's Jesus' blood, has cleansed all of our sins.
Okay. Well, then in that case, then a Unitarian wouldn't be Christian, but somebody who thinks that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old still would be, or still could be anyway.
I mean, yeah, I guess I'm hearing what you're saying. Yeah, I would guess so. Yeah. But
So this is all to say, like, you could be a Christian still and, you know, also believe that the science is good.
I mean, I still strongly disagree. I mean, you're still technically a Christian because it's not a salvation issue. If you don't believe Jesus is God, it's a salvation issue. But yeah,
Well,
the
you
Bible
can
makes
believe
very-
Jesus is God and also believe that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old.
I mean, you can believe that, you still be a Christian, but just like I said, if you're going to be a Christian, you know, you follow the Bible fundamentally. You should believe what the Bible says. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, like according to Catholics, you should follow what the Bible, you should follow what the church tradition and what the Pope says. And I don't think anybody could say that Catholics aren't Christians.
No, I can say with confidence, Catholics are definitely not Christians.
They were the first Christians.
No, they were not.
Who do you think Peter was?
He was a Jew.
Peter was the Pope. He was the first Pope.
No. I mean, in order for someone to be a pope, they can't be married. Peter was married.
Okay, was Peter not the Pope? Am I getting my apostles confused?
Yeah.
Okay,
He
which one
wasn't.
was which one was the first Pope?
I'm not sure who the first is, but I know it's not Peter.
Okay, who was the first Pope? I'm googling this. Saint Peter is recognized by the Roman Catholic Church as the first Pope. He was designated as the rock upon which the church would be built and was given the keys of the kingdom of heaven. He is considered the first bishop of Rome.
Well, look up Psalms 18:2 and see who the rock is from that.
Well, Psalms isn't a Christian book.
It is a Christian book. It's in the Bible.
Well, it's a Jewish book. Like, this was before Jesus, right?
No, Jesus has always existed.
It's before Jesus incarnated.
Yeah. But it doesn't change the fact that this is something that God is put in his Bible. But the point I'm trying to make is that the Bible makes it clear who the rock is. It's not Peter. It's
Okay,
Jesus.
who is it? So you're saying Psalms tells me about Jesus?
Yeah.
Mentions Jesus by name?
No, not by name, but Lord.
Oh, okay. So to be clear, it doesn't mention Jesus. So it's consistent with Judaism, not consistent with Christianity.
Well, your question was, does it say Jesus? Like verbatim? Like, no,
Yeah.
it doesn't say the word Jesus verbatim, but it says the word Lord. Who is the Lord? Jesus.
Well, not according to the people who are writing Psalms.
Well, hang on. Let me go to. I think it's either Psalms 30 or 4 or Proverbs 34. I think it's Psalms 34 where it talks about the Son. Like, who is the Son? Who is the Son? So the people in the Old Testament were.
So which one is it? Is it Psalms 34 or Proverbs 34? Which one?
I think it's Psalms 34. I don't have.
Okay, I pulled up Psalms 34.
Yep.
Let us
Yep.
pull up the text. Here's the text. Is this what you were referring to?
No, 30 verse 4.
Oh, I'm
30.
sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Okay, so 30 verse 4, sing his praises of the Lord, you his faithful people, praise his holy name. It doesn't say anything about a son.
Yeah, so it's Proverbs 34. My apologies.
Okay, Proverbs verse 30. Or Proverbs 30 verse 4. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one.
So I'm going to pull up the full Proverbs, by the way, just so everyone can see it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so we have Proverbs. The saying of Agur, son of Yaka, I don't know how to pronounce it, an inspired utterance. This man's utterance to Ithiel, I am weary, God, but I can prevail. Surely I am only a brute, not a man. I do not have human understanding. I have not learned wisdom, nor have I attained to the knowledge of the Holy One, who has gone up to heaven and come down, whose hand have gathered up the wind, who has wrapped up the waters in the cloak, who has established all the ends of the earth. What is his name, and what is the name of his son? Surely you know. So it doesn't mention Jesus.
Well, that's why I said, what is this? What is the name of the Son? Like, who do you think the Son is?
Oh, it's not clear. I don't know what this is referring to, but it sounds like that this is like Jaka is who's being talked about here.
Jaka?
Well, I mean, Agur is the son of Jaka, so.
Okay. Well, I don't think Jaka ascended up to heaven.
Do you know who
Because it
Jaka
said-
is?
No, I'm not familiar. But if we read John 3:13, it says no man has ascended up to heaven. So Jesus says that no one has went up to heaven.
Is Jesus a man?
He's both man and God.
So if he's a man and it says that no man has ascended to heaven, then it means that Jesus didn't ascend to heaven.
Well, if you continue reading the verse, no man has ascended to heaven other than the Son of Man, which is himself. If you read John 3:13.
Oh, well, why didn't you finish that?
Well, I was just saying half of it, but that's the point.
Sorry, we're just way off topic. So we should probably kind of circle back to the topic. I guess my point is that it seems like one can absolutely hold the view that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old, and also hold the view that Jesus is God. These just don't seem like they're in contradiction to each other.
I mean, if I would say yeah, then I would concede, and that's fine.
So like, what's the issue? Why not go where the science leads, and then also just continue to be a Christian?
Well, the thing is, in Genesis, God said He made everything in 6 days and rested on seventh. And then from the genealogies from Adam to Abraham, that's 2,000 years. Abraham to Jesus, that's
How long is a day?
Oh, you're gonna pull up the First Peter, right? Like a day is 1,000 years or whatever.
Well, look, I'm just not sure what is meant by a day in Genesis 1, right? Because clearly the sun wasn't made in the first up until the fourth day.
Well, those days are literal, because in Exodus, the Israelites took it as literal days, because God says to.
Sure, I understand that, but like, you understand that if a day is supposed to be between sunset and sunrise, right, if there was no sun, how long is a day?
Well, according to Genesis, I would say 24 hours, but without a sun, it can be a little bit confusing.
And because the sun wasn't made until the fourth day, right?
I think so.
So it would be a little bit strange to say that there was, you know, a 24-hour sunset sunrise period without a sun.
Well, like I said, those Israelites took it as literal days, because the Hebrew word of day was yom, and yom.
Well, I mean, it's the same word. Sure, I agree.
Yeah, it's the same word, and yom for day 1, day 2, day 3, so on and so forth. They all reference to that of a literal 24-hour period.
Sure, but like, you understand that these that we can use words metaphorically, and then we can use words literally in other contexts. Second, it's possible that the people who are writing Genesis just got it wrong. I mean, surely you don't believe that this was written by God. You believe it was written by man, right?
No, I believe the whole Bible was written by God. Because
it was written by God?
Yes, according to the Bible, God wrote the Bible.
Like all of it? Including the letters that that the apostles wrote?
Yes, that's what
God wrote them? I thought that the apostles wrote them.
No, God wrote the Bible.
You've got to be trolling me, right?
No, you can pull up First Peter. I see the.
Who wrote First Peter? Who wrote John?
Well, yes. So if you're taking it by literal, like men actually picked up the pen, but it was God. It was through the Holy Spirit that led them to write it.
Okay, so we agree that men wrote it. People wrote it.
Yeah, but through God. I mean,
what does that mean?
Well, we can pull up the scripture so we can both read it. Can you pull up? I think it's.
Well, I just don't know what you mean by wrote it through God, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Pull up the scripture. We can read it together if you like.
Okay, yeah, sure.
2 Peter chapter 1, verse 20 and 21.
Okay, verse 21. You said verse 20 and 21.
Yeah, it should be 2 Peter.
Okay, I pulled it up. Let's look at it together. Above all, you must understand. So here's verse 20. Above all, you must understand that no prophecy of Scripture came about by the prophet's own interpretation of things, for prophecy never had its origin in the human will, but prophets, though human, spoke from God as they were carried along by the Holy Spirit. Okay, so this is not saying what you're saying, right? This is talking about prophecy. This is not talking about the whole Bible.
Well, when it says own interpretation, it's talking about the interpretation.
The prophets own it. This is talking about prophecies. So I could definitely agree with you that through the lens of the Bible, it is very clear that they intended, the authors, whoever was writing it, they intended the prophets, the people like, Ezekiel, etc. These were supposedly people that were speaking, or that had God speaking through them, right? That's what the prophet statements. But the Bible is not all prophecy, right? For example, like the latter half of Genesis is like supposed to be history, not prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
And so just because the prophecies were, had God spoken through them, that doesn't say anything about books like Genesis or Exodus or really any of the rest of the Bible except the prophecy parts.
So would you agree that the prophecies in the Bible were written by God?
Well, I don't think that God is real, so no. But even under your own worldview, the prophecies aren't written by God. The prophets just have God speak through them.
Right, that's what I mean, speaking through them.
Right. But that's just what the prophets are saying. It's not that the text is like dictated by God, right?
Gotcha. So let me ask you this question. So since you're an atheist and you believe that there's no God, would you agree that your life is, I don't want to sound rude, would you agree your life is meaningless?
No, but it's also kind of off topic. And so we are still kind of I'm still trying to get to like the whole age of the earth thing.
Oh, okay.
Because that is the topic, right?
So I wanted to ask that because every atheist I talk to, I always ask that question. It's just out of curiosity. It's nothing personal.
No, I don't think that my life is meaningless.
Okay.
For what it's worth. The verse that you quoted doesn't say that books like Genesis or books like Exodus or any of these things were written by God, or even written with God's, or like dictated by God, even like spoken through God and then through somebody else, right? Like that's not the claim that's being made here.
Okay.
And pretty clearly these were written by people. Like obviously they were written by people. People have hands. God typically doesn't have hands. Right? Like, so the question is, could these people not have made a mistake? Could they have not have interpreted God incorrectly when, being inspired to write?
No, I don't believe so.
Why not?
That the Bible has mistakes?
Well, I mean, it's written by people and people are imperfect.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, people are imperfect. That's why we're sinners.
So why couldn't the Bible, if the Bible is merely inspired by God, except the prophecy parts, if the Bible is merely inspired by God, then why couldn't there be mistakes that come into the Bible from the human part?
Well,
After all, nobody's perfect.
Yeah, nobody's perfect, which I agree. But this is where faith comes in. I'm thinking by faith, everything you're telling me, it's true, and it was good enough for the prophets back then because they walked by faith, not by sight. And at the end of the day, everything is by faith. Like when Jesus was performing miracles, I am taking faith. What the Bible's telling me is true. So everything does fall into faith, which is perfectly fine with me. I have no problem saying that.
Well, right, but like if you end up finding out that there's some fact of the world which is just incorrectly accounted for in the Bible, then would you just disregard the fact of the world, or would you say that the Bible got something wrong?
Well, like I said, I'm very, very open-minded. But one thing I know about science is that science itself, not everything about science is always to its core. Like there's always been an issue with science. Like back then, they thought comets were an illusion. They thought a lot of stuff back then.
If you were very open-minded, you wouldn't immediately go to try to discredit science, right?
No, but I'm stating the facts. These are facts. I'm not being like closed-minded. I'm just stating facts.
So look, things in the past don't necessarily predict things in the future. But anyway, one sec. Let me just close the door.
Sure.
What is it that investors say? Past performance doesn't predict future something. Anyway, so there's a common one that I'd like to bring up just to get a feel for your view here.
Sure.
Do you know what a hyrax is?
No.
It's a very funny animal. It's native to North Africa and the Middle East. I actually took a picture of one at the zoo the other day, and I want to show you a picture because they're very funny animals. And they're mentioned in the Bible, actually. Which is a very strange thing. Not very many animals are mentioned in the Bible by name. Yeah, so look at this dumb idiot. Look at this dumb idiot. Isn't it a dumb idiot cute animal?
Yeah.
Anyway, so hyraxes, also known as rock badgers, are mentioned in the Bible in, I want to say, it's either Leviticus or Exodus. They're mentioned during the dietary laws. So essentially, and actually, I can just go find the verse for you if you want. Let me find it for you really quick, just because otherwise I'll just kind of be talking out my ass. So yeah, it's Leviticus 11:5 through 6. So let me pull that up. Just gonna pull up all of Leviticus.
Sure.
Here we go. Or not all of Leviticus, all of Leviticus 11. Can you see this all right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So here we have Leviticus 11. And the relevant part is 4 and 5. Well, we can just read the beginning. This is about kosher laws, right? Like about what you can eat, what you can't eat. So the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, say to the Israelites, of all the animals that live on the land, these are the ones you may eat. You may eat any animal that has a divided hoof and that chews the cud. Do you know what? So divided hoof means that it's like this rather than like this for the foot. And chews the cud means that it eats some food, chews it up, and then it spits it up again, and then it does it again. Right? That's what it means to chew the cud.
Yep.
Cows do this, for example. And so there are some that only chew the cud or only have divided hoof, but you must not eat them. The camel, though it chews the cud, does not have a divided hoof. It is ceremonially unclean for you. Okay, so you can't eat a camel because it chews cud, but it doesn't have a divided hoof. Fine. And here's the relevant part. The hyrax, though it chews the cud, does not have a divided hoof. It is unclean for you. Now, the strange thing here is that hyraxes don't chew cud. It's just not a thing that hyraxes do. So the question is, why does this verse say that it does chew the cud? Oh, where'd it go?
Sorry, my phone's at 10%. Well,
you're good.
You're using the NIV. You're using the new.
Yeah, we can use whatever version you want.
Well, I typically use KJV because I think the scripture says that it has to be authorized by that of a priest.
Yeah, so the coney, because he cheweth the cud, the coney is another name for the hyrax. Okay. And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean to you. So it's saying the same thing.
Okay. So the question is, why does the Bible say the coney can chew cud, but in reality it doesn't?
Yeah.
Well, I have to do more research. I think in Leviticus it also talks about like the rabbits and hare chewing cud, if I'm not mistaken, though.
Yeah, it does talk about rabbits and hares as well. That's the next verse.
I know it was the next one. For the rabbits, I know they eat their own dropping, like their own. I think it's the poop, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So for the rabbits parts, I can see the Bible making sense for that one. For the coney, I'm not sure.
But that's not chewing cud.
Well, chewing cud, I've always thought chewing cud was like eating the same food twice, is it not?
No, it's when you regurgitate your food and then you eat it again.
Oh. Okay.
Like cud is regurgitated food, right?
Yeah. Yeah, somebody told me this. I have the answer in my house. I'm just not right now. So I'm not too sure. I'll be home enough to say I'm not sure. I have to do more research.
I mean, so this is to say that like this is the kind of thing that, and for what it's worth, rabbits and hyraxes, they actually look like they chew cud because they do this thing with their mouth where they're always like, kind of like cows do, and cows chew cud. So this would be an easy mistake for people to make back then. If you only observed these animals briefly because, they didn't have them like tamed, then you would look at them and you'd be like, huh, that looks like it's chewing cud, like the cows do, like the camels do. And so if this was written by people, one could understand why they would make that mistake. But if this is supposed to be inspired by God, well, then we have a little bit of a bigger issue because God should know better. So this is all to say, I think that we should take this as an example of a case where it's pretty clear that these things were written by humans, and humans can make mistakes, even if they were inspired by God. The human factor in the composition of the texts can definitely lead to mistakes like this.
Like I said, it could be. Like I said, I would have to talk to my boss about that, but I would have to look more into it. Like, for example, like I think it's just maybe the way it's maybe it's just like the author's intentionship. Like, for example, like in Genesis, like when Cain unalived his brother Abel, it said that the blood was talking, was crying, but we know blood obviously doesn't cry, but it's more I don't know if symbology is like the language or symbolic language. I don't know if that's correlating, but like I said, for Leviticus chapter, I think
Leviticus is a bit so like, look, I could like, obviously blood doesn't cry, and so like I could see that that's like a pretty clear metaphor, but this is just what's being laid out here are just laws, and you're not going to have like metaphor or symbolism in laws, right?
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
So this just seems like the kind of thing that would be, you know, it would be like, there's a reason why Leviticus is like the most boring part of the Bible, and it's because it's super cut and dry. It's just a list of laws, basically, for like an entire book. It's just do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that, stone them if they do this, right? It's just that. And so there's not really room to say like, oh, it was symbolic. The hierarchs only choose the cuds symbolically. Like, I don't know. Like, it just seems seems super implausible.
Well, no. Well, I mean, for me, I find Leviticus not just I wouldn't say it's boring. I think it's interesting because it talks about not just food that you can eat, but like.
Well, yeah, it's like it's like a lot of the laws.
Yeah, and one of the laws I find interesting is like if somebody commits adultery, like to make sure they're fully punished. Like there's some interesting elements to the book of Leviticus. So I wouldn't necessarily
I don't know why that would be the one that you would bring up, because that's kind of a rough verse. But I mean, like that's neither here nor there. All I'm saying is that this is merely an example of a case where like it's easy to see how a human would make this mistake, which would indicate that even if this text was inspired by God, it's like you can see how the human mistakes can creep in.
Well, I can understand your point. Like I said, I would have to look more into it. It's like every single stuff that someone would bring up, like, oh, you know, God is not a.
Oh, where'd you go?
Sorry. Like every contradiction, like someone brings up, I'll be like, oh, that makes sense. But then later, I would just.
Well, look, this isn't like a contradiction. This isn't like the Bible saying one thing and then the Bible saying something else. This is just like the Bible saying one thing and then the real world being different. Right?
Yeah, I got you.
And so all I'm saying is that, look, if we recognize that it was written by people, and people 2,500 years ago when Leviticus was being written, if they just didn't know as much as we do about the world now, then it's super plausible that like the people who were, even if they were inspired by God, it's super plausible that those people would write down things that are not quite right, that get something wrong, that, you know, perhaps describe something in a way that doesn't line up with the way that it should have been described. Like, for example, imagine that you're an ancient scholar, or imagine that you are, you know, Moses or whoever was writing Genesis, whoever you believe was writing Genesis, inspired by God. You're writing these words. You feel God's presence kind of like flowing, and you hear this message, and you're trying to convey this idea that's popped into your head. And it talks about like there was a bright period of time and then it was dark. And you're like, oh, well, that sounds like a day. So you use the word day to describe what is really trying to be conveyed to you, which is like an eon of time. Like this is plausible, right?
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible in this world.
Sorry, one more time?
Sorry, I don't know. I said anything's possible in this world. Like anything's possible.
All I'm saying is that we have a lot of really compelling evidence that the Earth is very old, for example. Yeah. Like a lot of really compelling evidence. And so what's more likely? That all of that evidence is just wrong, or that evidence is pointing at something true, and the people writing Genesis, say 2,500 years ago, just were mistaken.
Well,
Again,
Genesis was
people being
written longer.
imperfect.
Yeah, well, Genesis was written longer than 2,000 years ago.
2,500 or so.
Yeah, or give or take. But my thing is, I would highly advise going to the the Noah Ark Museum, because I know the founder, Ken Ham. He's a young Earth creationist, and he was talking about in the museum how the Earth was 6,000 years old, and as opposed to billions and billions of years old. And he did make a strong, compelling argument stating why the Earth is only a few thousand years old, which is, and he was asking these atheists, he says, were you there when the Earth was created? And they would say, no, we weren't there. And then they would ask him the question, like, hey, were you there? Obviously, he wasn't there. But, Ken's response was that, but I do have a friend who was there, God, and he told me how he made the Earth and how he described it. And for me, like I said, for me, everybody's different. A lot of people will say, "Well, that's not good evidence." Like I said, this is for me at least. I think it's good evidence that somebody was there. They recorded it. It's in the Bible.
Well, wait, who was there?
God
who was there that recorded it? Well, God didn't write it, right? He didn't record it.
Well, Moses through the Holy Spirit wrote it.
I mean, even if you believe that that's true, Moses wasn't there.
Well, God probably told Moses. If Moses is the author of Genesis, then God told Moses.
Well, sure, but again, it's still inspired. It's not direct dictation.
Well, it is, because Moses is telling what God did.
Right, which is inspired, not direct dictation. In fact, in the Hebrew Bible, when God is speaking directly, it says, God said X, or the Lord said X, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't say that in Genesis.
Well, we know Moses and God had a close relationship. Like, they talked plenty of times throughout the Torah, the first.
Sure,
Bible.
And every single time the Torah is bringing up what God said, it says the Lord said, and then there's whatever God said. It doesn't say that in Genesis.
Well, it's not gonna say like the way you're saying, like God spoke to him. But yeah, I do agree. When God is having like an actual like conversation, it says like the Lord said it. Like, I understand where you're saying, but I'm talking about the revelation that Moses get from the account of Genesis, the creation, was revealed to him.
Right, but so what you're relying on is kind of like 3 steps, right? You're relying on God communicating to Moses, Moses correctly writing it down, and then your interpretation of it is correct. Well,
there's no interpretation. The Bible says there's no private interpretation.
There's no interpretation?
Yeah,
so
there's
then
no interpretation.
Wait a minute. So then why are you asking for whether or not we should interpret Leviticus 11 as like metaphor or symbology? Like, if there's no interpretation, then you should just be able to take Leviticus 11 as being wrong at face value.
Well, no, like what I say interpretation is like going off what it's saying, pretty much, if that makes sense.
I don't know what you mean by that.
To be honest, I think I look confused myself. But when I say there's no private interpretation, it's just taking what it's saying pretty much scripture-wise, like understanding the full context, like not just taking verse by verse, if that makes sense. Like, not cherry picking.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, the point is that if we're doing the thing where it says we're looking at the individual word, the word yom, say, for example, to mean a 24-hour period, well, then we can look at the word hyrax or koni, depending on how you translate it.
Yep.
And there's just nothing to interpret there. Like, these words just mean what they mean.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, there's always going to be some room for interpretation because words can mean different things in different contexts. And you have to know what they mean in each context. Now, I probably agree with you that the person who was writing Genesis 1 almost certainly intended Genesis 1 to be understood to be like one 24-hour period, a second 24-hour period, a third 24-hour period. I would 100% agree that that's probably what was intended. I just don't think that even if this God is real, that that's what happened. I would think that this is just a person's failure to understand what happened.
So that's what's stopping you from being Christian, thinking that the Bible doesn't line up to real world claims.
No, there's a whole bunch of other issues. But my
Okay.
question is what's stopping you from taking the scientific evidence seriously and then just recognizing that the Bible makes some mistakes, or that that you're interpreting the Bible
Yeah.
incorrectly?
Well, for me, as far as what's stopping me from believing like the Earth is not, 1,000 years old or a billion, excuse me, is I think the how do I say it? I think maybe the overlaps of evidence that people present that for me just doesn't line up. It's like, for example, like this is why it's good to talk to people to have like a better understanding of like where their beliefs coming from. And um when I talk to other atheists, they say like Earth is like you're saying is 4.5 billion. Some say 13, 14.
Well,
It's like
no,
get
that's the age of the universe, or at least that's how long ago the Big Bang was. Is the 13.8 billion. The Earth is 4.5.
No, I got you. Well, the Earth, whatever you want to say, Earth. We'll just say Earth for now. 4, some say 8. It's just for me. It's like you have all of these people saying different answers, but then
I don't think anybody's going to give you a different answer for the age of the Earth.
no. Some people have.
I mean, you can just Google it. Like this has been well-established science since like the 60s.
Well, not everything in Google is 100% accurate.
Well, I've personally read the papers myself. Like this has been well-established science since like the 60s. Nobody thinks the Earth is 8 billion years old. If they do, they're just wrong. Like this is not like, oh, there's scientific debate about this.
Yeah, I got you. So whatever. So your understanding with 4.5 billion years is you have done studies, you have done research,
Yeah.
you looked into the Bible, and you concluded that the Bible is not being true to its word, and science is being more true.
Well, look, so one can interpret the texts of the Bible in different ways. I think that this is like a special trait that Christians have of making their interpretation of the Bible bend to what they want to believe. And so I think that there are ways that you could make the Bible agree with your belief if you believe that the Earth was 4.5 billion years old. Namely, you could talk about how, well, the Genesis 1 account is really an account of the creation of the world, kind of in a zoomed out version, whereas Genesis 2 is really about the creation of man. The Genesis 1 account isn't necessarily linked to Adam and Eve, as the Genesis 2 account is. It was kind of just talks about man was created on the 7th day. And so you could say that, well, the Earth was created a long, long time ago, and it was only man. It was only man, like civilized man, that was created 6,000 years ago. Like that's one way that you could harmonize the texts so that you can so that you can not disagree with the entirety of the scientific consensus.
Okay. But you had said earlier that a Christian could be able to agree with the Earth being billions of years old and still be a Christian. So
yeah,
what I'm trying to understand, you don't have to answer. You can tell me to be quiet. But like, what is stopping you from being Christian then?
I don't think any of the stories are true. Or I don't think, well, any of the miraculous stories anyway. I think that probably some of like the historical stuff is true, but.
Well, do you agree that Jesus existed?
Yeah, probably.
Like, I mean, like, what's the big harm? Like, what do you have to lose if Jesus is really who he says he is, that he's God and he can give us eternal life?
Well, if it's not true, then what I have to lose is believing something that's false. And I don't want to believe false things.
Well, if you don't believe, well, you know what's going to happen. Like, that's a game over. Like, that's the end of your life. That's it. There's no hope.
But I don't know if that's right. Like, what if Christianity isn't true, but atheismo is real?
What's that?
Oh, atheismo is the God that sends only atheists to heaven and sends everybody else to the worst possible hell imaginable.
Oh, where do you read that from?
Oh, it's in the Book of Atheismo. It was published 10,000 years ago.
The Book of... I never heard this. It's the first time I'm hearing this.
Oh, okay. Well, it's good. It's the first time you're hearing of it, because if you hear about it and then you start to believe in atheismo, then you'll be sent to hell.
The Book of Atheismo.
Atheismo, yeah.
I'm finally now home. I just came back home. I'm trying to look that up on Google, and I don't.
Well, yeah, it's kept under lock and key because they don't want people to see it. Because if people do see it, then they will begin to believe it, and then they'll go to hell. And nobody wants to go to hell.
It sounds like you're kind of pulling my chains at this moment.
I mean, yeah, but can you prove that atheismo isn't real?
Can I prove it? Well, I have to read it, but the thing you're presenting is not something I can read about.
Yeah, I know. It's
You're just
hidden.
making. Okay. Well, it sounds to me that I don't want to sound rude. It just sounds to me that you just have a heart issue with God. You're just making stuff
A
up.
heart issue? Look, so you said what's there to lose?
Right.
Like, you know, if Christianity is false, then like there's nothing. If Christianity is true, then you go to heaven if you believe in it. But that's just not true. It's not a true dichotomy. Just because Christianity isn't true doesn't mean atheism is false. There are a whole bunch of other options that there could be, atheismo being one of them. And if atheismo is real and you are a believer, then you go to hell. So it's just not enough just to say, well, your only two options are Christianity and atheism.
Okay. I mean, if that's what you want to believe, you can believe
I mean, like,
whatever
what
you
if
want.
Hinduism is true, right?
Oh yeah, I
Or
mean,
what if
Hinduism
Islam is true?
Well, yeah, if the Muslims end up speaking the truth, like if Muhammad was telling the truth the whole time, then yes, I would go to hell. I would burn because I worship the wrong God. I worship Jesus, which is true. Yeah.
So, like, aren't you worried about that?
No, I'm pretty confident that.
So then
Jesus
why would I be worried about Christianity being true?
Well, why don't you believe it? Why don't you just take that leap of faith? It only takes a few seconds. If you just believe the gospel, truly believe, then the Bible
How do
says
you
you're saved.
how do you just choose to believe something if it's not convincing to you?
It's convincing to me. I mean, you
No,
can Google.
I mean, like, I didn't mean you. I meant, like, how does one truly believe something if it's not convincing to them?
I mean, we can pray about it. Do you want me to pray for you?
If you want to pray for me, do so on your own time, I guess. I'm not going to tell you not to. It probably isn't a good use of time here.
I mean, if you give me just 20 seconds time, we can just do a quick prayer. Tell God to open your eyes, give you a new heart.
Go ahead and do it, but keep it silent if you can, because otherwise, you know, we might get kicked off of TikTok. Actually, you know what? Go ahead and do that. I will be right back, and I can still hear you, by the way.
Okay. Am I allowed to do it out loud, or it has to be silent?
Let's take a moment of silence.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna count down, and then I'll pray in silent, and then I'll let you know when I'm done. So 3, 2, 1. Amen. I just prayed for you, my brother.
I appreciate that. All right. Well, I'm feeling. No, I'm kidding. I'm not feeling anything. No, it's not working.
Oh man. That would have
been funny though, huh?
Yeah, we would have been in heaven, just chilling, just having a fun time.
Totally on point. So look, I think that it's probably worth considering, and I'll bring this up like another time. Like, it just seems like, have you looked at what the evidence is for the Earth being quite old? Is this something you're familiar with?
I've tried my best to look at it, like carbon dating.
Well, you don't use carbon dating to figure out how old the Earth is.
Well, you can figure out how old stuff are, like rocks.
Yeah.
And, like,
no, not rocks. You can figure out how old like human remains are, basically.
Right. I mean, the point is, like, you can find out how old are stuff in the Earth to like kind of get an idea of closer and closer and closer to the Earth. Like, if we can figure out like how old of a tree is based on like the tree rings, we can understand the Earth must be older than what the tree is. Same thing with carbon dating and, you know, all that other stuff.
It's good that you mentioned tree rings. So we can use tree rings to go back 8,500 years.
Okay.
Which is more than 6,000 years.
Well, I think the tree rings, like, people have always interpreted like 1 ring equals 1 year, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah, that's how trees grow.
But there's been studies that trees have produced multiple rings in a period of 1 year.
Do you think that that's happened enough times for enough trees that even though we get many, many trees together that get us to 8,500 years back, it just is a giant coincidence that they all happen to produce many, many tree rings in like a few years, enough to account for an extra 2,500 years? Or 2,500 tree rings?
I mean, it's possible, but would you agree that
so the question is not, is it possible? The question is it plausible?
Is it plausible for a tree to have multiple rings?
Is it plausible for a tree to produce multiple rings for many trees, by the way, not just one tree? Is it plausible for many trees to produce multiple rings in sync in a single year in a way that makes us think that there are 2,500 extra years worth of rings when there only should be at most 6,000 years worth of rings?
Yeah, I would say.
You think that that's plausible? Because that would mean that like 1 out of every 4 years has the tree producing an extra ring.
Yep, I would say so. Yes.
You think that that's plausible? So you think so?
Yes.
So then, in your view, it sounds like that you don't think that we can use tree ring data to come to conclusions about the ages of things, unless you're okay with an error bar of like 25%.
Well, tree rings. Well, I was using the points because you had asked me earlier, like, have you looked into this? And I was telling you, like, I was looking into like what people have said to me on terms of, you know, getting ages like just in the earth, not just the earth.
But it just doesn't sound like you're being open-minded. It sounds like you're trying to figure, like, seems like you're trying to find ways to wiggle out of evidence that is otherwise contradicting your worldview. That doesn't seem open-minded. That seems like you're closed-minded and you're trying to find any excuse to rule out the evidence that's being presented.
No, I'm more than happy to hear. I'm just stating that there have been studies where multiple rings have happened within a year, so we can't say that one ring.
Yeah, does that
equals
happen often enough to account for 2,500 extra rings?
Yeah, if we're able to.
You think so? Where's the study that shows that it's enough to account for 2,500 extra rings? That this happens frequently enough.
Yeah. Well, as far as my, like I said, as far as what I understand, in terms of it being frequently, like I said, I have to look more to studies about that. Like
because
I
it's
don't
not enough to just show that, like, oh, a tree that's like 1,025 years old actually has 1,027 rings. That's not enough, right? You would have to say that you found a tree that's 1,000 years old, but it actually has 1,300 rings. And you need to see this happen in a lot of different trees, all at the same rate, in the same place.
I mean, every tree is different. We can't say like every single.
But the point is the way that you do dendrochronology is you line up the tree rings of many different trees, and you can use that. You can use that to confirm the ages of things. And so, if you're saying that, you know, these trees, they got extra rings in a given year, more than they should have, then that means that all of the trees that line up would have gotten extra rings at the same time, which just seems super implausible.
Well, I mean, we can't deny that's not plausible. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we can. So plausible and possible aren't the same thing.
Right, plausible, correct.
Plausible means likely.
Gotcha.
And it just seems very unlikely that this would happen, right? If these are just flukes when a tree grows an extra ring just because, why would it happen at the same time in the same place for other trees that are relatively nearby?
Like I said, I would have to look into more trees.
You should, but like, look, it's a little. So here's what I would suggest, and we've been talking for a while, so I can let you go soon. But what I would suggest is, if you want to be actually open-minded, don't look at the evidence to try to come up with an excuse for why the evidence isn't true. Look at the evidence genuinely and say, if I didn't believe in God already, what would this make me think? What would this evidence make me think? Would it make me think that the earth is young, or would it make me think that the earth is old? Because that's what it would be to be open-minded. It would be to try to throw away your bias and just say, look, without considering any internal factors, where would this evidence lead? Would it lead to an old earth or a young earth? And then you'd look at this for a whole bunch of different pieces of evidence. And if you find that most of these pieces of evidence would lead to an old earth, well, then maybe you should seriously consider that the earth is old.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, what website, or I mean, because when I ask you for information, like where I can look this up, do research.
Yeah, I can provide stuff.
The only information I'm getting is Google. Right?
Well, I mean, I told you Google for the age of the Earth because that's not like in contention. I can give you stuff for like uranium lead dating though. Here, let me pull up a paper that you can probably find somewhere. Here's a paper on uranium lead dating.
Okay, I'll screenshot
This was published in 1982. This is like, this doesn't get to a 4.5 billion year old Earth, but what this does do is it demonstrates like how uranium lead dating works. And it, you know, in this case, they find that a particular rock is like 1 billion years old. So this is like a good paper that you should look at. It's pretty readable. It's readable because it's old. Did you get the screenshot?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Okay. There's another one that, one sec, let me see if I can pull it up. It was regarding tree ring data. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Because there's a nice chart that is pretty readable. Okay, I cannot find it right now. Let me see. I thought I put it in my to be sorted, but maybe not. One sec, let me check somewhere else. I just have a big long file, and so they can be sometimes hard to find.
Yep.
No, it's not there. Okay, well I can go find an example for you. Here's a decent summary of dendrochronology of how they do tree ring data. At this website, you should check this out.
Okay.
Let me know when you have a screenshot.
Can you, what's the URL?
Oh, yeah, it's here.
Okay. All right, got it.
So this is nice because it actually goes over like how you can line up the tree ring data for trees that are overlapping. So like you can have different tree rings that overlap with other tree rings. See how like in this diagram, how you have like overlapping things, and then you can use those to kind of go back further and further. So that's like that's like a really nice kind of summary of how dendrochronology works. There's a nice paper that I found on, there's like another piece of data that people often use, which is ice core samples, which I can show you as well if you want to see that.
Okay.
Let me see if I can pull this up. It's here. I'm not a robot. Hate this. This is a paper that was, this is a little bit harder to read, but like, you know, I imagine that if you read it, you can probably get the basic gist anyway. It's just more technical is what I'm getting at. This
okay.
does some ice core data that gets you to around 104,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So these are things to read. You don't have to read all of them. You don't have to like read them thoroughly, but I think that it's probably worthwhile to just take a look at the evidence, like you say, with an open mind and see if it's like, you know, actually see what it would actually indicate if you didn't have any bias.
Okay, yeah, I can look into it, do my own research. Am I allowed to read a scripture to you? Is that fine?
As long as it's not too long, sure.
Yes, it's 2 verses.
Sure, go ahead.
It's something I always love to read to atheists. Like I said, I'm not trying to be this minor. I'll definitely look into this. I just want to read Romans chapter 1.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Romans chapter 1, verse 20-21. This is what the Bible says. It says here, "For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they were without excuse. Because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened."
Sorry, he's muted. Yeah, it just makes it sound like they're trying to convince people to not be atheists because they want people to be Christians. But like, you know, if I'm an atheist, I'm not really going to believe the texts in the Bible, so it doesn't really do much for me. But look, Mario, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to let you go and bring up another guest, but have a good one, okay?
Yeah, you too.
Take care. All right, let's read some super chats, and then we will bring up our next guest. From Dwayne Warren with the $5. Earth is old, evolution is real, God is real, morals are real, love, help when you can and when you don't want to. Well, I agree with some of that. From Fact Junio Roll with the $5. Oh brother, this guest stinks. Okay, let's hold on. We got to do the bit. Oh brother, this guy stinks. We did the bit. From Bacon and Bush with the $10. Thank you so much, Bacon. This caller has 5% of the information he needs for this level of confidence. Not unusual, of course, but unfortunate. I mean, look, lots of people come in with not a lot of information, and that's pretty typical. From Monty J with the 5 Canuck bucks. Thank you for what you do, Prof. Blitz. These people are nuts. Well, I'm not a professor, but I do appreciate it. From Mike Angel with the $5. God is speaking through me again, and he's ordering tacos on Uber Eats. From Juiced Vandenover with the €5. Every time a Christian says they have to look into it or do research, they mean I have to find out what lie I need to tell to make my worldview work. That's why I was suggesting that he pretend that he doesn't believe in God when examining these pieces of evidence and just think about where the evidence points to, like which direction it leans. Because that's what it really means to be open-minded, right? From Bacon and Bush with the $5. He said he talks to atheists, but it sounds like he's repeating what young earth creationists say atheists say. Yeah, that's probably right. From Empiricist with the $2. He looked into what science says from his pastor. That happens often. From Pat in the chat with the $2. Christ is lard. That's funny. And from Dr. Pizza MD with the $2. Foot cam still broken. Sorry about that. Foot cam is not currently active. Also wasn't active in the past, nor will it be active in the future. Let us move on to our next guest. Okay, so we have... Let's bring up Jesus Christ Loves You. What a name. What a name.
Hey, man.
Jesus Christ Loves You. How's it going?
Yeah, it's good. I just want to tell you, I just want to let you know, I DM'd you on my other account talking about, the one that said, could you disprove this TikTok?
Oh, yeah. Okay, but so this topic doesn't seem like it's really on brand for this topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just to summarize,
I don't have a lot of time. I have 15 minutes. So I don't.
It's fine. No. We don't have to do a whole big thing. But just to summarize, there was a survey taken of cosmologists last year, asking how they interpret what the Big Bang is, and the vast majority of them said that the Big Bang says nothing about whether the universe had a beginning. So all of the stuff saying that the Big Bang is definitively the beginning of the universe, that stuff is from the 80s. And it just hasn't percolated down into the rest of the pop culture or the rest of the pop science people that this is not consensus anymore.
Okay, but I just want to ask, why then when I search up, for example, does the universe have, based on the evidence that we have, does the universe seem like it has a beginning? And most
because
of when I asked ChatGPT, for example,
all of the things that ChatGPT is reading are things that pop science communicators have been spewing for the last 40 years. Even though they haven't updated their information. ChatGPT is not giving you what the scientific consensus is. ChatGPT is giving you what it finds most frequently on the internet.
Okay.
And so you have to just ask the people who are in the field. And when you do that, what you find is that the scientists, the cosmologists, think that the Big Bang does not point to a beginning of the universe. It's completely silent on it.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because you didn't answer my DM, so that's what I was wondering.
I think I did.
Or you answered my DM, but my latest one.
Oh well, so I was probably live streaming.
I do agree with what's called. The last guy said was trying to bend evidence. I do agree that you should read the evidence that is there and come up with your own reason. But I do believe that when you look at just the historical evidence of Jesus's life, it does give him historically accuracy, and it gives him it does point to him being the Son of God.
Not really. There's no historical evidence that
I mean, if
Jesus did
you,
any of the. There's no historical evidence that Jesus
yeah,
did
no,
any
no,
of the
I know,
miracles,
but
right?
I get that, but I mean, when you say that Jesus isn't the Son of God, you have to battle with, first off, why the disciples didn't, like, they said that they saw him after his death, and then went to death for that matter.
Well,
Didn't gain
hold on. To be
anything
clear,
from
we
that.
don't have any of the writings from any of the disciples, any of the 12 disciples, right? At least we don't have confirmed writings from any of the 12 disciples.
But doesn't the historical evidence show that, like, the disciples went to death for the fact that
No,
to
the
claim that
historical
Jesus
evidence
Christ
does not
was-
say that.
And so the historical evidence says what?
The historical evidence doesn't say anything about the martyrdom of any of the disciples except one, which I think is Paul maybe. And Paul wasn't somebody who actually saw Jesus. He wasn't a disciple. So, like, yeah, there's just no historical evidence that any of them were martyred for their belief that Jesus rose from the dead. There's just no evidence of any of that. That's called church tradition, not historical evidence.
Okay. And
maybe it wasn't Paul. It was
I mean,
maybe it's James.
like,
Who knows? I can never keep them. Maybe it's
I'm
Peter.
I'm not gonna sit here and like, because I don't know if you're 100% correct, and I don't know if like what I'm saying is 100% correct. I'm not gonna sit here and say like, no, the historical evidence says it when I don't know 100% if it does. So obviously I will look into like the evidence.
You should look into the
believe
historical evidence, like from historians, not from churches.
Yeah, I do believe that like you should look into evidence and then make like your decision upon that. But just like when I've been watching your live streams and stuff, it kind of, do you seem like it's like completely unreasonable to think that there is a God, or is there like
It depends on which God you think that there is. In some cases, yes, I think it's completely unreasonable.
And yeah, like I understand that, but I mean, just there is an intelligent creator behind this universe. Do you think that there is like some reason behind that?
I think that people can be rational and believe that. I don't think that makes it true.
Okay, yeah, but also like one last thing. Why do you think that so many like scientists that do research about the universe and like stuff like that do believe that there is a creator behind it?
Well, the majority of cosmologists don't, right?
And okay, but for example,
so like, and those are the people who study the origins of the universe. So they're the relevant people don't, like, overwhelmingly are not believers.
Sorry, I didn't understand what you said, but
yeah. So cosmologists, that's the like the sub branch of physics that deals with like the origins of the universe and like, you know, the large timescale stuff about the universe. That group of physicists are overwhelmingly atheist.
But let me just get this right. What you said before with like the Big Bang in the beginning, is it that the earliest like sign that we have of the beginning of the universe is the Big Bang? Not that it is the beginning, but like the earliest sign. So we don't know what was before the Big Bang.
Yes. Yeah.
Just that it was. Yeah.
Merely that the Big Bang is the Big Bang is basically how far back we can wind the clock before we don't have any more data.
Okay. And don't you like? I'm just like seeing where your headspace is, because my headspace is that, like, before the Big Bang, it is reasonable, for me at least, to believe that there is an intelligent creator because of so much ordered design this universe has. Like, for example, love and stuff like that.
I don't see how love existing means that there's a creator. I don't see how those two, one implies the other.
I mean that just like a bang couldn't create all this like order and design complexity.
Why not?
I mean, like, obviously, I'm not saying it does. It couldn't, because it obviously could, but because you can't prove anything in this life. But it's more reasonable for me to believe, at least because of the complexity of this universe and this Earth, for example, and like us humans.
How are you measuring the complexity? And why would you expect?
For example, like I sent you before, like the guy that said the video that I asked you to debunk. He said like, if there's
how would you measure the complexity?
I mean, things like if there's a little bit more oxygen, and
that's
then
not
the fire would
complexity.
break out
That's
everywhere.
fine tuning.
I mean, and also like our eyes have so much, like when you look at a human body, you look like you like see how complex it is, for example.
Well, yeah, and all of the features of the human body can be explained via evolution. So there's not really anything that requires a creator there.
Yeah, but I just like think, isn't it like a bit like more reasonable to think that an intelligent creator created this than just
not really
like coincidence, maybe?
Doesn't seem like it's more reasonable, no. Like if you wanted to make the claim that it's more reasonable, you would have to provide something that is less likely, or that is more likely given a creator than it is given some non-creator origin or lack thereof.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm just speaking for, like, I know, I'm not speaking only for me. I know there's a lot of people that think that, like, there being a God is more reasonable. I just wanted to see what your...
Yeah, I mean, like, suffice it to say, like, a lot of the people who say that, like, oh, well, you know, it's more reasonable because God can account for X, but naturalism can't account for X. Most of the time, for almost all of the cases that I've heard, naturalism can account for X, and it's actually a fairly straightforward accounting. It doesn't require a supernatural being to intervene.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I
agree with, like,
it just seems like that, given almost all of the examples that you might come up with, a naturalistic explanation is better because it doesn't require a supernatural being to be involved.
Okay, and there's also like a question about evolution, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Evolution, I believe it's true but not as an origin. How do you explain
Evolution
like,
isn't an origin. It's not an origin. Evolution describes what happens when life exists. The question of the origin of life is a different question.
And what do you believe the origin of life is?
I mean, I think that it originated from some kind of chemistry, because life is chemistry.
I mean, that's like one more thing that I believe, like, why God is more reasonable. Never have I seen life come from non-life. Do you understand what I'm saying there?
So when you say life, do you mean like cellular life, like it's made of cells and it has metabolism?
I mean life, like as human beings, for example.
Well, look, so when we say never have I seen life come from non-life.
Plants. Yeah, I know.
When you say never have I seen life come from non-life, either you think that God is a life in the same way that like a plant is a life, or you think that God created life from non-life.
I believe that God created life, and then evolution.
From what did God create life from?
I mean, he's all powerful, so he can just create it.
What did he create it from? Well, in the Bible, it says he created it from dirt.
Himself, or? In
the Bible, he says he created it from dirt.
Like clay, yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, so non-life.
Yeah. I think you, like you said to the other guy, you maybe need to take that thing in context as well. Like maybe that means like he formed us, you know?
Right.
Like
so look, either the first life came from other life in the biological sense, but you don't think God is a biological life form. So even if God just poofed life into existence, this would be an example of life coming from non-life.
Because God is non-life.
He is not a biological life form.
Okay.
Right? I mean, like if he were a biological life form,
I know. I just think, like, for me at least, I feel like it's more reasonable to believe that like an all-powerful creator created us than just like us coming from nature, you know?
Why is that more reasonable?
I mean, I think that's how that's how I think, at least, because
what's more reasonable about it though?
It just seems more reasonable.
That like that like magic happened?
Not magic, but it's like really hard to.
I mean, like, it is literally magic, right?
Yeah, maybe, but I think
the contrary, the alternative is chemistry, and you think magic is more reasonable than chemistry?
But I also think that it's more reasonable there being a God, because I just can't like wrap my head around the Big Bang, like making everything, and then like us as human beings have the consciousness, right? And like
we have
Everything.
consciousness.
Yeah, I don't understand how nature could make us like have a soul, you know?
Do you understand how God could make us have consciousness?
More than nature.
How?
Because he's described as like I don't know how like.
Okay, so you don't know how God could give us consciousness, but you somehow think that it's more reasonable to think that God could give us consciousness than nature could give us consciousness, even though you don't know how either could work. Because
God is like described as he already has a consciousness.
Okay, so how does he give consciousness to unconscious matter?
Because he's described as all powerful.
Okay, so you don't have an explanation for how he does it, though.
Do you have an explanation for how nature does it?
No, but my point is neither of us have an explanation for how unconscious matter got consciousness.
Yeah.
So it seems like your
my
explanation isn't any more of an explanation than mine is. Namely that neither of us have an explanation.
Look, let me put it. I don't know if this is a good example or not, but for example, if we as human beings, right, create AI,
Mm-hmm.
and one day the AI gets its own consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
then like in the future, say humans get wiped out, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the AI is it more reasonable to think that, oh, humans created us or we came from nature?
Well, wait a minute. To be clear, under your worldview, it is impossible for AI to get consciousness.
No.
Unless God did it, right?
No, I don't think it's impossible for AI to get consciousness.
But then, so then AI would be getting consciousness just from being a collection of matter.
No, I think that we as
how could we give it? We're not all powerful. How could we give consciousness to just a lump of matter?
Sorry, I cut off.
You're fine. How could we give consciousness to a lump of matter?
I'm not sure, but isn't that like what a lot of people debate nowadays? Like if
Yeah, but the
the
people who are debating that don't or think that consciousness can arise naturally. If you think that consciousness can only come from God, then you don't think that that's possible. You don't think it's possible that the AI could ever become conscious.
No, I never said that consciousness could only come from God. I'm saying that I believe that it's more reasonable to think that God gave us consciousness than nature. Do you understand what I mean?
Look, so if we gave AI consciousness, that means that there is some natural process that we can use to make AI be conscious, which means that there is a natural process that can make material things have consciousness. In which case, it's totally plausible that humans would have gotten our consciousness from a natural process.
Mm-hmm. So you believe that if AI is able to get a consciousness one day, then it would also be plausible for
if we ever decided that AI has consciousness, then it basically rules out God.
It rules out God. Why?
Yeah, well, because, or at least it makes God basically irrelevant, because then you don't need a God to explain why humans have consciousness.
Okay, but I just, like I said, I don't know if it was a good example or not, but I think that's what I was kind of trying to like put forward, that I think it's more reasonable than nature, for example. I don't know.
Jesus, I'm gonna let you go because I'm getting a phone call and I gotta pick this up. But thank you for being here.
Yeah.
God, they always love to call at like 10:15. Sorry about that. I just need to write down a note because I have to call them back at some point. One sec. I should just not pick them up, actually. Okay, problem solved. Sorry about that. He did say he only had 15 minutes and he was on for, 15 minutes exactly, so I don't feel too bad. Right, let me read some super chats and we'll move on to our next guest, because he actually wasn't really talking about the subject anyway. From Pat in the chat with the $2, can I call in and read Ezekiel 23:20-21? No, you may not. From Dexter with the $5, the creationist's skull is a geode, empty space with shiny bits lining the walls and generally resistant to new things entering. That's a good meme. From Sustaining Nimbus with the $5, if you could magically transport yourself to the quantum fluctuations period and could only bring one scientific instrument, what would it be? Oh, that's a really good question. Well, who knows if there was a quantum fluctuations period, but maybe like a mass spectrometer or like a calorimeter or something. From L'Oreal Ashley, sending 10 Dr. Blitz gift memberships. That's enormous. Thank you so much, L'Oreal. For those who are getting one, you now have access to my debate notes, which is the source of those papers that I was sending to the first guest. So if you want access to my debate notes, it's like $4 or $5 a month. So absolutely make sure that you consider joining. It's a good way to support the channel, and it's a good way to, shore up your debate game if you need to. I have material for Flat Earth, for Young Earth, for just God existing, for MAGA stuff. I have sources on a lot of stuff. Sources, arguments, counter-arguments, etc. From Joshua Everett with the $2. Yeah, but where did the dirt come from? Good question. And from The Last Judge with the £10, thank you, Blitz, for the great work as always. I owe a lot to you. I just won a debate on the God of classical theism and really lent on the pillar that are your debate notes. They are very expensive. Well, I appreciate that. I'm glad that I could be helpful. I'm glad that the debate notes were helpful too. I'm always worried that nobody else finds them useful but me. From Dr. Pizza MD with the $5, the Christian cannot accept that biological life is messy and we are not special main characters of the universe. It is messy. Biological life is very messy, as I have recently found out. From Germs Rossalina with the $10, Blitz asks reasonable question. Guest states unrelated conclusion. Blitz repeats reasonable question. Guest states 3 more unrelated conclusions. Facepalm, the level of dishonesty is wild. I actually don't think that it's dishonesty, at least not intentionally. I think what's happening is a failure to communicate, if you will. What I mean is that people have a trained response to certain questions because of the community that they grew up in, the church that they grew up in, whatever it might be. And so I don't think that they're being intentionally dishonest. From Tim Davidson with the $2, I can read lips. Blitz said waffle spackle BBQ. Ah, good to know. That is true. That is what I said. All right, that was all of the super chats. Let's move on to our next guest. Let's talk to DJ Big Lex on Discord. Oh, never mind, he's gone. Okay, let's talk to Joss. Joss? Joss, how's it going?
Hey, Joss, how's it going?
I'm going all right, as well as I can go anyway. Joss, how old do you think the Earth is?
It's funny. So I'm a Catholic, born and raised, and I'm also a physician, an anesthesiologist actually by profession. So
neat.
I wouldn't call myself a full-on scientist like you guys, but obviously my whole profession.
But you're science adjacent. Science. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure. So I never really put myself to the sword for this question until I started of late having experiences with God, our creator of the universe, who I perceive to be the creator of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to your chat last night, and it does seem to me that you're searching for answers, which is great. God loves a curious mind. Curiosity is what drew Moses to the burning bush. He was like, why is the bush not being consumed? Let me go a little bit closer. So God, in our belief system, we're made uniquely by God. He's wired up your brain. He knows what you will pick up in terms of your senses, your data points, and how you will construct your data set.
Right.
100%, he will do that. So he probably knew to some degree that Moses is a curious chap, and let me set this bush on fire, and let me draw him in.
So, Josh, just a quick question. I realize I asked you a question, I didn't get an answer. How old do you think the Earth is?
Well, I've actually swung from holding to evolution to holding through a dual kind of thinking of it, mixing in creationism with evolution. But now I'm seriously swung towards the young Earth creationism end of things. And I'll tell you why. It's for one reason only. When you base your belief on the fact, if you accept as truth that Jesus Christ came down, was incarnate as a man, was fully God, fully human, that he died, and according to the scriptures and his prophecy, he rose again on the third day. He was raised by the Father, and he was born of the Holy Spirit. Then if you have accepted that as being a fundamental truth, it's easier to go down the line and start then going back, even backtracking into the Old Testament and finding plausibility for these kind of stories. And what you find yourself at a place where you're like, I can accept one version of a truth, which is science, evidence, data, and all that. But the science takes me too far away from the home plate of truth, like in terms of evolution and stuff.
But I mean,
you know,
look, you're an anesthesiologist. You know as good as anybody. Like, at least I would think that you know as good as anybody. For example, that like the brain is the thing that you have to shut off in order to turn off consciousness, right?
Right.
And so like this is an almost direct contradiction with like the kinds of claims that are made in the Bible, that like, you know, that we talk about like the heart as being the thing that Pharaoh hardens, right? That the heart is the thing that governs someone's personality. That the breath of life, that it was divine breath that gave a person or that gave Adam personhood, rather than his mental, like his brain faculties. It just seems like it's in direct contradiction with what you know and how you act as an anesthesiologist, right?
Correct.
Like there's a lot of stuff that the Bible gets wrong.
I've done this one procedure. It's called deep hypothermic circulatory arrest, where if you have to work on the arch of the aorta, that's usually the landing spot where they put the cannulating materials in to let the cardiopulmonary bypass machine inject oxygenated blood into the aorta so it can reach the brain and perfuse the brain and keep the rest of the body alive and extract deoxygenated blood from the vena cava. Now, if there's pathology in the aorta, what we do is we cool the patient down to around 22 degrees Celsius. And then the patient will start warming slowly, ambiently, just by thermodynamics. And when the patient starts approaching about 28 degrees, there's the danger that neurological activity might recommence. So basically, we give the surgeons around 45 minutes to maximum just over an hour to extract and reimplant a grafted aorta. So now technically that person is dead. The cardiopulmonary bypass machine has stopped.
Sure. Their heart is stopped.
Stuff.
Sure.
Yeah,
they're not like brain dead, but their heart is stopped. Yeah,
they're not like brain dead, but there's no EEG, there's no burst activity, nothing, no alpha waves, nothing. So that person is, for all intents and purposes, a person would perceive that person as dead. Yet we rewarm them and we get them on the pump and we get them off the table. So, like, I think it's difficult when you. So I will do that procedure. I'll also do an awake craniotomy where I am helping surgeons extract a brain tumor on a patient who's fully awake. Yep. So that's science, and that belongs in the physical realm. Science, to me, should be something that's observable, interactable, reproducible, and able to be experimented upon.
Yeah, right. And you can do all of that for radiometric dating.
Yes, true. However, when you throw in the story of the Bible, there was something called a firmament. All right.
I just got to double check here. What shape do you think the Earth is?
I actually think, because we're talking about two different realms that are one quark away from one another, we're talking about the physical and the spiritual realm literally being like meshed almost.
But what shape do you think like the physical Earth is?
I think it's round. I think it's round. I think the rest of the body's are round.
Just checking.
Yeah, no, like in this, and this is just simple observation. Okay, to our senses, it's flat. All right. And so the flat earthers are correct there. If they say use your senses, look around, it looks flat.
Well,
but
I mean,
at sunrise and
if you're like a 5-year-old, maybe.
But at sunrise and sunset, you can catch rays of the sun hitting the underside of clouds and coming to your eye. That's kind of like that'll not really work with the
I
floating
agree.
sun.
So I guess what I'm
the
getting
sun
at
is
is like there's a lot in the Bible that's just scientifically inaccurate, right?
It is, but
Like
you
about
must
the human
remember
body
we're talking
even.
about.
Like I can give you an
Perhaps,
example. I can give you an example if you'd like. Deuteronomy 22, and most of these examples are going to be in the Old Testament in the Hebrew Bible because these are older texts, and so they're less likely to be scientifically accurate, of course. So if we look at Deuteronomy 22, Deuteronomy 22 verse 13, this is talking about it's verse 13 through 21. I can pull it up and show you.
All right.
It's a fairly well-known, perhaps famous passage if you want. This is the law about sexual relations, about like when you can divorce somebody if they're not a virgin, etc. And so, I'm sure you've heard it. So it's this passage here.
Early versions of King James Bible actually compiled them into like a small table of who you can and who you can't marry.
Yeah, there you go.
Printed on the cover.
I'll just summarize here. So if you have, back in this era, like fathers were selling their daughters into marriage, right? Like that was just like the cultural thing that they were doing. So if a father sells his daughter to a man for marriage, and the man suspects that the girl or the woman is not a virgin, and then after they get married and they have their wedding night, culturally they used to like basically go have sex on their wedding night, and there would be people guarding the tent from outside, and like it would be happening like in the middle of the village or whatever. If after they had sex and there was no blood on the sheet from the woman, and the man suspected that she was not a virgin, then the man would be like, hey, she's not a virgin. Then they would bring the sheet to the village elders, right? They would bring the sheet to the village elders. The village elders would be like, there's no blood there. I guess she wasn't a virgin, and then you would stone her to death, right? This was God's law.
This was God's law.
And the thing is if this is God's law, you would expect that God would know that most girls, most women, don't
break their hymens.
Well, they don't bleed on their first time.
Right. Yeah.
It's only 40% of girls or women do. So why would they have a death penalty for a test that is only correct 40% of the time? Why would God implement that as the law?
Yeah. Look, God of the Old Testament, it was actually my curiosity to try and find out the identity of the Father. I knew Jesus well enough, I thought, from my Catholic catechism and having grown up Catholic and the apostles and stuff. In my, I suppose, Moses-like curiosity to try and find out the identity of the Father, I encountered Jesus along the way. But that is the function of Jesus. Jesus is supposed to guide you to the Father. And us as Catholics believe that his mother Mary is supposed to guide you to Jesus. So I also pondered such things, like how could God be so tyrannical? Like there was a guy
to be clear, this isn't a question of tyranny.
On the Sabbath.
This isn't a question of tyranny. That's not what I'm asking about. I'm not asking about how cruel it is, because obviously it's cruel. This is a question about why doesn't God know female anatomy?
Oh.
Because clearly he doesn't. The hymen is not something that is always broken during a first intercourse, right? That's just part of female anatomy, and God should know that if he's all-knowing. Rather, what this reads as is this reads like this was written by a bunch of old men who think that women always bleed on their first time.
Right.
And so,
remember, we weren't really around for the application of such laws. Like, the women were married a lot younger. Maybe hymens were 100%. We don't. What I'm saying
it's
is,
having a or having a what's it called? Having a perforated hymen is it's fairly common.
Hymen, yeah.
It's just fairly common to have like a hymen that just isn't perforated, or that just is perforated, right? Which means that there just wouldn't be any blood. There'd be no tearing.
But I also feel that girls will be married at a much younger age. They were quite
it doesn't become perforated as you get older.
Well, it can, based on different physical activity, like gymnasts and horse riders and stuff. They can.
That's a result of tearing. What I'm saying is like it doesn't just like through just by existing. It doesn't like all of a sudden develop like a perforation just by existing. Something has to happen.
Well, it's semi-perforate. It has to actually be perforated, so it's like semi-lunar. Naturally, it's semi-lunar, and then with the first coital act, the stretching of it causes it to tear a little, and it
Well,
drops
but
a
not
bit of
always.
blood.
It doesn't
has
always
to
cause
be-
it to tear, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Science will tell you, yes, in this modern age, what we have observed is that it doesn't always tear, nor is it always present.
Right. And so
So I
God
can
should know
see- I
that
can
this
see
is
what
not
you-
a good test of virginity.
Right, it isn't.
So
But
why
remember
did God get
as well-
female anatomy wrong?
Yeah, look, if you want to nitpick about the law, there's about 660 of them that the Jews had to live under.
It's
all right, because
613.
they were
I'm
under the
not
law.
nitpicking about the law. What I'm saying is that this is an example of God getting something wrong, or quote unquote God getting something wrong about some scientific fact of the world, right? And so this screams
Okay,
that
I
this
see
was
what you're
not
saying.
written by God. This was written by men.
Yes. No, look, it was written by men, but we believe
So then it
to
can
be
be it
inspired
can
by
be
God.
just as
I mean-
mistaken as men can be.
Not with divine inspiration. No.
So was
That
this
carries
law
through to-
divinely inspired?
I think it was. I think it was. The
Why would God
application
divinely
and the penalty
inspire
for
a
it?
bad anatomy lesson?
Because it's got implications for the conjugal purpose of the marriage.
It doesn't though, because
must-
whether you bleed on your first night or not doesn't have any implications about what it doesn't have like it doesn't deductively follow that if you don't bleed then you're not a virgin. Right? It's just not. It just doesn't follow.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So why would
Look,
God
I'm-
put in place a test? Why would God inspire a test where the test doesn't work? It doesn't work, half the time.
Right, exactly. Well, if you think about it, it is quite a stringent penalty, and it's also meant
Yeah.
to be there to keep people in line at the time, to guard their hymens, maintain chastity till marriage, and yes, just hope you bleed on that wedding night.
Right. But
Look, I'm not.
So you're telling me that God intentionally instituted an imperfect or an unjust law? He inspired an unjust law, or
I don't want to go as far as to say that they were imperfect laws. I would go as far as saying that the laws were applicable to imperfect beings, ourselves. They were they perfect laws? Now
well,
you're
I
asking
mean,
me
in
to
this
enter the
case,
mind of God.
this law has like a 50% fail rate, right?
Yeah. Right. Okay. No. It's a very good example. You atheists have got some real gems in your.
Well,
sleeves,
but
'cause,
look, I'm not trying to just like give you a gotcha. The point is you understand that there are certain ways the human body is, and of course, people 2,500 years ago didn't understand that, and that's totally understandable. Like we have modern medicine, we know a lot more. But if the claim is that everything in the Bible should be believed literally, then somehow you have to believe that this all-knowing God is giving Moses laws that have a 50% false positive rate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
And that seems like that seems like it's
it seems
crazy.
But these things would go to council. It wouldn't be like a man drags him.
It would go to the village elders, and the village elders would check whether or not.
And then the elders, exactly. That's what
The
it would do.
village
So
elders
that-
would check whether there's blood on the sheets.
Yes, and then they may not execute the penalty, because let's go to the New Testament now.
Well,
of
to
another
be clear,
example.
it says that the law is that they have to, right? If, however, this charge is true, that evidence of the young woman's virginity was not found, that evidence being the blood on the sheet, then they shall, meaning that like this is the requirement, they shall bring the young woman out to the entrance of her father's house, and the men of her town shall stone her to death, because she committed a disgraceful act in Israel by prostituting herself in her father's house. Like this is like a mandatory minimum, if you will.
Yeah. Well, no, I still think it goes to the council. Look, I'm not a Jew, but I think it goes to the council. It's dealt with appropriately. They will interrogate. There will be a devil's advocate. There will be basically a trial. They'll interrogate the woman's sexual past, any tries and stuff like that. And I don't know. I wasn't there back in the day, but I don't think they would have willy-nilly stoned. Let me contrast this with another
Suffice
example.
it,
where
and
God said,
just before
like,
we move off of this, and then we can move off of it, it's fine. Just to be clear, it might be the case that they didn't follow this law, because the law does say like the elders
I think it
should.
definitely is the case.
Well, no, I mean, it could be the case that they were more lenient than the law says they should have been.
100%.
But the law is the law,
100%.
is the point. And the law was supposed to be inspired by God. And it seems like God's law is like, has a 50% false positive rate. I don't know, man, either seems unjust or it seems like God doesn't know female anatomy. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, we can look at God himself and say, like, we say to God, like, under your law, I deserve the death penalty, but through your grace and mercy, you have recanted on that sentence for me. So, okay, let's contrast this with another example from the New Testament. You know the story where a woman was caught in adultery and they brought her to Jesus.
And then Jesus is like, let he who is without stone cast, or without sin cast the first stone. And then sinless Simon comes over and casts a stone. No.
Yes, and he misses.
Wait a minute, hold on. Did Jesus have sin?
No.
Okay, so why didn't Jesus cast a stone?
Because he has mercy.
Oh, well, so then I guess he wasn't listening to God when God said, let he who is without sin cast the first stone.
No, Jesus and God are one. So here we go.
I know, that's my point. So God said, the person who doesn't have sin, cast a stone.
Cast the first stone. It should have been Jesus.
And then Jesus, not having sin, just didn't listen to God. He didn't listen to himself.
Exactly, yeah. So the beautiful thing about Jesus is he is the law. He is the law. Let's say the game of cricket. The game of cricket in my country is very popular because they've looked at sports that are extremely popular, and they've concluded that psychologically it gives the viewer an almost religious-like experience because the nature of the sport mimics the rhythm of life. The unpredictable wins, the underdog.
All right, nobody can love cricket that much.
No, cricket is like cricket. It can turn on its head in the last over.
Nobody can love Jesus, or not Jesus. Nobody can love cricket that much that you have a religious experience. Come on.
You do. We do.
God, you guys are so weird.
So let's say we've been playing the game of cricket, and the laws were written in the 1800s. Now let's extrapolate it like the Bible. The laws were written all the way there. Let's say we're playing the game of cricket, and now there's a bit of a dispute in terms of the rules. The bails fell off, but the ball was not bowled, or it was a missed ball or something like that. Now, normally the umpire would be the one to deliberate and officiate. But let's say the umpire himself is in a dilemma. And in the rule book, there doesn't seem to be clarity on this. Now, imagine the man who invented the game walks onto the field in the flesh. Everybody abandons the umpire, abandons the rule book, and they go straight to the man who invented the game to ask him to resolve this dispute. That is Jesus's function and role in our age. Before, in the patriarchal Mosaic age, Jesus had not incarnated himself, even though he was, as some of your debaters had said before, he was manifest in the Old Testament. In the burning bush, there was an angel. People say that was the angel of the Lord. We believe that was actually pre-incarnate Jesus Christ.
If it was an angel, then it wasn't Jesus, right?
Well, they say it was an angel of the Lord. It's like the seraphim, the ones that go around God saying,
right,
Holy,
right.
Holy is
so, like,
the
if
Lord.
it was an angel, then it wasn't Jesus, because Jesus isn't an angel.
It was an angel. Well,
isn't that what it says in the book?
It says it's an angel in the book. But
so then it's not Jesus, unless the book is wrong.
Well, this is what we also as Christians use in our reading of the Bible and extra-biblical texts. Like we Catholics, we draw from a lot of extra-biblical texts as well. We use discernment of the Holy Spirit. As promised, Jesus said, the Holy Spirit will guide you in all things, and he will lead you to all truth. So, like, when Jesus came down, he was the law, walking, breathing, talking in front of us.
Look, I understand that. I don't see how this gets to my point, that there seems to be things that are just scientifically incorrect in the Bible.
Well, yeah.
And as a man of science adjacency yourself, you should see that.
I do see that, but I still go to Sunday Mass and receive the body of Christ, and I believe that what I'm receiving is the body of Christ.
My understanding is that the Roman Catholic Church actually is of the view that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old, right? That's what the Pope says?
The Roman Catholic Church embraces science wholeheartedly. We've got our own observatory. We've got scientists that interrogate Eucharistic miracles to check if it's blood that's developing on the thing. We send it to scientists. even the interrogation of miracles themselves, it can take 12, 13, 14 years to ratify a miracle. We appoint somebody as the devil's advocate to say, bring every argument you can to discredit this miracle. And that's his job. Go inside, boy. I'm on the phone. So
I mean, like, look,
so
it seems like that, like, as far as I know, the Catholic Church is generally in favor of evolution, in favor of like scientific consensus regarding the age of the Earth. And you're a Roman Catholic, right?
Correct. I'll tell you why
So why do you disagree with the Pope?
No, the Pope won't disagree with what is said in the Bible. You must remember this age.
Well, I'm not saying that the Pope disagrees with what's said in the Bible. I'm saying the Pope disagrees with you.
This age of around 6,000 years was, you know how it was tracked by genealogy. Methuselah was this old.
Yeah, this was come up with by Bishop Usher, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So we come to a figure of around 6,000, maybe 7,200 years max. But
yeah, and to be clear, he wasn't Catholic, right?
No, I think I'm not exactly sure. I know it's more the Protestant evangelical.
He was Anglican.
Okay, all right. Well,
so
look, the Catholic Church. We've look, when Galileo came out with his heliocentric model, obviously the Catholic Church, the church and state were like one. So the Catholic Church was like, oh no, that can't be true.
The church wasn't that fond of
Galileo.
Galileo, yeah. But like, my point is,
like,
if you don't want to listen to the Pope, like, why are you Catholic?
No, well, that's a whole other theological debate. And to be a Catholic, yes, you've got to accept the magisterium of the church, the papal decree, the apostolic succession, and the decree of papal infallibility. But it has to be clearly explained to people, and they have to be willing to understand that it is under certain conditions. Ex cathedra, when he issues a bull, papal bull, and is sitting in the seat of St. Peter, and people have prayed on him, and he's issuing a decree. The Catholic Church is a very progressive church. We are still entertaining arguments for
but just to be clear, so when Pope Francis said that evolution in nature is not inconsistent with the notion of creation, you're saying that he was not speaking on behalf of the papacy?
No, I think he was.
So do you think that evolution in nature is compatible with the 6,000-year-old Earth?
The mission of the Catholic Church is not to convince everybody that didactum, verbatim, what happened in the Bible is literally as it says, which is why the Catholic Church doesn't enter into too much eschatology or the study of end times phenomena. The Protestants have got it all figured out. They've got the pre-trib, mid-trib, a whole model of how Jesus is going to return. The Catholic Church realizes that through the mystical writings of Revelation, you cannot reliably give a time frame or predict a model by which Jesus is going to return. In the same way, the Catholic Church doesn't go that far back and say, your salvation is dependent on your belief on a literal day as a day. The Catholic Church's mission was to bring the gospel to the average man. So that's why they compiled the Bible. Bibles were in short supply, all right? You must remember, back in the day, I mean, if you wanted to read a Bible, you'd have to go to a cathedral.
Sure.
So they said, we can't print enough Bibles. Let us take what is in the Bible and convert it into spiritual practice for the average illiterate man, such that the average illiterate man can obtain salvation. So that's why we came up with the notion of the sacraments, which are biblically based: baptism, First Holy Communion, and all that stuff. So this is just my view, and it actually
do you
came
think that the
from
Big Bang happened?
Non-Catholic source. God said, "Let there be light." It's pretty consistent.
Okay, but the scientific notion of the Big Bang, this is like an expansion of the universe over the last 13.8 billion years.
I think it's completely possible. No, but not deep time. Not deep time. I'm finding enjoyment in finding more explanations in young Earth creationism than deep time, because you've basically got two sources. If you approach both with the same kind of 50 credits objectivity, 50 credits skepticism, you will see that one source is a complete genealogical record of every man from Jesus to Adam, and that by that arithmetic, if you take it literally, you land up by about 6,000 years.
At least that's the claim, but of course these people couldn't write at the time, so
right.
You know, this is not like something that we can confirm.
Remember, like if you were Noah, you could have tea with your great grandfather, and hear what happened.
Well, not after the flood, right?
Child. Not after the flood, no. But before the flood, yes. The pre-Antediluvian world, they call it. And the world was a lot different.
Look, so
let me just say why I started giving serious thought.
Okay, but
and
land the plane.
Saying, yeah. Somebody said, "Do you believe what Jesus said?" I say, "Yeah." Somebody said, "Do you believe what Jesus did?" Yeah, I say, "Yeah." Then he asked me, "Do you believe what Jesus believed?" And it was the first time I'd ever heard the question posed like that. And I thought to myself, did Jesus have beliefs? I mean,
of course he did.
Take him to be God, right? Of course he did. He believed in his return.
Did Jesus believe that it was okay for people to be owned as slaves?
No.
Are you sure?
Not at that time. No.
Are you sure?
In the letters, there's notes about slaves. We are all one in Christ. Not slave, not master, not Gentile, nothing.
Just to be clear,
Jesus,
hold on. So when you say that there is no slave or master in God, right? That's the verse you're referring to.
Yeah.
Do you take that to be anti-slavery?
Yes, definitely.
Do you also take it to be anti-gender? Because there is no man nor woman in God.
No,
right?
No, I don't take it to be that. I believe God created two genders.
Well, okay, then you can't take it to be anti-slavery either. Otherwise, you're just being inconsistent.
Meaning more the status of a man or the status of a woman. Because in Islam, there's doctrines that like a woman's legal account of anything is half that of a man. So in Jesus was like, no, we've got to sort all of this out, elevate women to the correct position. Women are central to the Bible story and the salvation model of Jesus revealed his identity as the Messiah, first to the Samaritan woman at the well. He was born of a woman. He could have come down by a comet, and he revealed his resurrection to women first. So what made me think about the world about 6,000 years old?
I'm on this whole slave thing still. I'm on this whole slave. I'm still in the slave thing. Isn't there a isn't there a parable by Jesus where he literally says that servants do what that servants do what they're supposed to do, that slaves do what they're supposed to do?
Yes.
Isn't that a whole thing? So then it seems like Jesus just thinks that slavery is fine.
Slaves were around at the time, but the language directed at slaves was always to be treated with dignity.
Yeah,
and
they should treat their slaves well, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't own people shouldn't own slaves.
No, exactly, they shouldn't. And
Jesus never conveyed anything aside from just tacit acceptance of the slavery practice, but he thought that the slaves should be treated nicely.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Which means that Jesus believed that slavery was fine.
I don't know if he believes it fine. We as the Catholic Church believe that anyone treat the virtue of human dignity, which goes all the way to embryonic formation. A human being from the embryo to the grave needs to be treated as a fellow person made and created in the image of God.
This doesn't really help. It just nowhere in the Bible does Jesus say anything about how slavery is wrong, right?
I don't recall. Maybe there's something I think
no, he doesn't.
Said I came to free. No, well, I can't remember. No, I can't comment fairly about slaves, but it is. Let me just say, you wanted me to land the plane. Why I think I'm entertaining younger creationism now is because they said, "Do you believe what Jesus believed?" And I said, "Well, yeah." Now I realize Jesus believes. And then the guy said, "Well, Jesus believed in the flood." And I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yes." Look, he says, they asked Jesus about his second coming, and he said, "I can't give a time," and all that stuff. But he said, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be for the second coming of the Son of Man. So he was saying that the world was going to be just as evil, just a thing, and just as suddenly as a flood came, so will he come again. So if Jesus believed that the flood happened, and I believe in Jesus, therefore I believe in the flood, it's like,
I mean, I think that that's
a scientific principle for that. Experiment A proved experiment B. Experiment B proved experiment C. Therefore, experiment A can prove experiment C.
Yeah, sure. But then we just run experiments, we run tests, we do scientific investigations, and we find that no such flood happened. Like, this is just not a thing that was real, right?
Well, it depends on where you draw your
why don't the Egyptians
from.
have a why didn't the Egyptians have this story? They were right there.
Okay. The whole point of the flood was to get rid of the Nephilim. So the Nephilim were the fallen angels who.
When did the flood happen? 4,000 years ago, something like that.
4,000 BC. Yes. Yeah.
4,000. It can't be 4,000 BC because
4,000 years ago. Sorry. 4,000 years ago.
So the Egyptians already had a kingdom before that, right?
Yeah, and it was the most
they like
organized
the old Egyptian
Nephilim kingdom.
The old kingdom of Egypt is like really well documented. It spanned from 2700 to 2200 BC. This is when the pyramids were built. We have writing from this time, and we have continuity of writing actually spanning from before, from like 2500 BC or so, continuously up until like, well, not now because there's no Egyptian kingdom anymore, but continuously up until the last Egyptian kingdom, which was a few thousand years later.
Yeah.
So we have continuous writing. Why aren't any of the writings about this flood that happened
I don't know why it's
during this global flood?
But they've looked at tribes from across the world, and each tribe, from China to the Polynesians to the Indonesians to the Persians to Africans, all relate to flood stories.
Except they don't, and the Egyptians famously don't. And also, by the way, there are plenty of tribes that actually don't have flood myths. Generally, where you will find flood myths are places where you have large rivers nearby that occasionally flood in catastrophic ways. The reason why the Egyptians don't have a flood myth is because the Nile famously floods periodically in a very regular way, and so it was predictable. So they didn't have a flood myth because when their river flooded, it was never a surprise. It was never some big catastrophic thing because they could expect it. The reasons why we have flood myths in places like Mesopotamia and the Levant is because these are places where you have giant rivers that just flood randomly sometimes and can like wipe out cities, right? So you will find flood myths in places where they have that kind of setting. You will not find flood myths anywhere else.
Right. So you're saying like a local type of
but more importantly,
of whom there are a couple of geologists.
More importantly, how did the kangaroos get to Australia? How did the koalas get to Australia
you asked this question yesterday.
Flood? Yeah,
they hopped.
They hopped across the water.
They hopped from wherever the boat landed. They hopped
across the water.
There was no water. There were spurs of land.
No, there wasn't. There was
the
waters
never. Were receding. The waters receded. And,
but
there were land spurs and
wait. So then what caused the ocean now that's between Southeast Asia and Australia? Where did that ocean come from?
Well, if rising post ice age rising water levels.
Post ice age? When did the ice age end?
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. They say the ice age was about 10,000, 11,000, 13,000 years ago.
Yeah, but this would have been before the flood.
So the flood model geotectonically is that it says in the Bible the fountains of the deep broke forth. So science has shown that there's about 3 times more subterranean water.
Oh no, not this. No, there's actually no water down there. It's not water. There are hydroxide ions,
and so
which is not water.
Oh, okay, all right. Well,
it's HO minus.
This is what the guys go to. And they say like, the actual water rose, shot up supersonically into the stratosphere, came down as rain.
I know that that's the story. But like my point is like,
and then there's
a lot of problems here, right? Like you can so Eurasia, like Africa is basically connected to Eurasia. So like the animals and the plants on Africa.
Everything was actually connected to.
Well, but they're not, right? Like they're just like
at one stage you can see that.
Yeah, maybe 65 million years ago. But the claim is not that after the flood, at least as far as I understand, after the flood, after the waters receded, the world was in the configuration that it's in today. Unless you're saying that there was like another geological event after the flood that caused it to be the way it is today. Whereas so it's after the flood, but before geological event 2, the world was different.
Right.
And somehow the koalas and the kangaroos could hop to Australia, and the palm trees could be carried by snakes to Hawaii. But then there was another geological event that changed the land again. But now you're just adding more and more to your theory to try to make sense of this, and we have a much simpler model that doesn't require a flood and can make sense of this data better.
Well, I just take it back to Jesus again. Like I said in the beginning,
Jesus
everything
didn't
makes
know
sense
about kangaroos.
if you take it back to Jesus.
He didn't know about kangaroos.
Well,
of course he was
no,
going to
he
believe
did.
that there was a flood.
He created them. Jesus was the creator. So,
Okay, well,
yes, he knew
find
about
me evidence that Jesus knew about kangaroos and I'll become a Christian.
Yeah, look, you're not going to find it in the Bible. The Bible,
I know I won't.
if we had to have recorded everything that Jesus said, we would have tomes and tomes and tomes. But, like, I think to myself, I believe that a man died and came back from the realm of the dead. Everything else becomes a less fantastic thing to believe if you hold that to be true in your heart.
Well,
so the fact
sure.
that the Red Sea was parted, that
well, wait a minute. Actually, no, I
move.
don't think that that's the case. Like, you could have somebody, so you don't actually have to believe that he came back from the land of the dead. You just have to believe that he was dead and then came back. That could have just been aliens, right? Aliens could have come and just, did advanced medical miracles on him and brought him back, right?
But if we read further, he spent another 45 days on the earth, saying hello to his mates.
Yeah, I know. He could have,
like the alien, and he had the marks of his things.
Yeah, the aliens could have just come and, healed him and fixed him up and brought him back to normal.
No, these people were so convinced that it was the man, Jesus Christ himself, that they all went to their death.
Wait, no, you're confused. I'm saying that aliens came to Earth, they found Jesus lying in a tomb, and then they fixed him up.
And they substituted another, they fixed him up.
No, they fixed him up. They healed him. They brought him back to life because like we can, like, after somebody's heart stops, we can bring them back a few minutes later, right?
Yes. You're right.
It's plausible that, like, with sufficiently advanced medical technology, you might be able to bring somebody back after a few days.
Well, we believe that he was raised by the Father through the Holy Spirit, and
I know,
so
but that's not what the apostles. That's what the apostles believe, but the apostles weren't. They weren't divine. So it's possible that they just saw a guy who was medically healed.
Medically healed.
Yeah, by aliens, right?
Yeah, but somehow this guy knows the deepest parts of you. And
apparently not. He doesn't even know that a hymen doesn't always bleed.
Well,
he also doesn't know about kangaroos.
He said to her, he had told her every man she had ever been with, and the man that she was living with now, he's just met this woman at the well, and he told her every man she's ever been with, and the man that she's living with now is not her husband.
At least that's what the story says.
That's what the story says. Yes, exactly.
Can I ask how old you are, if you don't mind me asking?
I am 46.
Oh, okay.
I've got two young boys, and we trying to,
So, Joss, in 25 years, do you think that you'd be able to reasonably account the entire contents of this conversation accurately?
No, definitely
okay.
not.
So why do you think that the people who are writing the Gospels, for example, were able to adequately account for the exact language that Jesus used when it was being written decades later?
Well,
in some cases, a lifetime later.
Yeah,
in the case of John.
Well, we believe that it was an oral tradition, father to son. The stories and the volume of content of what God
oral tradition famously never changes.
And eventually, at some point, we attribute the first 5 books of the Bible to be written by Moses. But
I'm talking about the New Testament.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, take this, for example. So here we are, through modern technology, having a debate across time zones and through over the air. This stuff goes viral. We've given that term to things. The first thing to ever have actually gone viral was the New Testament. So if you look at these guys who scour the world, all the libraries, all the markets to find remaining papyri of copies of the New Testament, and the New Testament was written as a book, a codex, not a scroll. So there's Bart Ehrman and another guy.
Wait, hold on. Why aren't you addressing? It doesn't sound like you're addressing what I said. And maybe I can just be more.
Is,
maybe I can just be more clear.
Because
all I'm saying is that even if we assume that like the people who wrote Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were actually Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they were writing these things decades after the events took place, and you're telling me that they were able to perfectly remember all of the things that Jesus said?
No, not perfectly.
So then, how do you know that Jesus actually was meant? How do you know that Jesus actually mentioned the flood?
Because it comes across, I think, in 2 Gospels. I think he mentioned it. I'm not exactly sure, but he said it once, you know. And if it was important enough for people to remember that he mentioned it, it was recorded in history. So that's the thing with the Bible.
Or it was a mistaken memory.
Guys, I forget what. No. So
why not? I mean, you said that you wouldn't be able to perfectly recount this conversation 25 years later. If we're talking almost a lifetime later, I don't know why you would think that they would be able to recount it.
Yeah, well, this is what actually applies to you as well as a man of science. When you have a personal encounter with God, it will stay with you, and you'll be like, "What was that?"
At least that's the claim. But what if
remember?
Look, these stories, these conversations happened decades prior. So maybe all this stuff about God was just misremembered. Maybe it's been misinterpreted because, you know, the stories were told over and over again after decades.
No, there's congruency.
Go ahead.
So, look.
Well, I mean, hold on. There's not congruency. There's not congruency. There's like almost explicit contradictions. But that's neither here nor there. I guess what I'm saying is you trust the science, and this is just circling back to the beginning. You trust the scientific stuff as far as your anesthesiology is concerned, right? At least I hope you do. In order to be a good doctor, you have to follow the scientific studies. Why does your trust in the scientific method suddenly cease when it comes to something that contradicts your religious worldview?
Because in my opinion, evolution is not science. It doesn't meet those 4 criteria that I'm
not talking about evolution. I'm talking about radiometric dating.
Because now when you put the Bible story in there, the pre-Andaluvian world, which there was not that many tectonic shifts. There was a firmament, or there is a firmament.
The radiometric dating doesn't really care about tectonic shifts.
Well, it needs to. There's certain caveats or asterisks next to radiocarbon dating. And
I'm not talking about radiocarbon dating. I'm talking about radiometric dating.
How you date the rocks, exactly. Like you have to assume that the amount of radiation was constant from space and stuff like that.
I'm not assuming anything about radiation. Are you familiar with uranium lead dating?
Not exactly. I will.
It's surprising because that is how we figured out how old the Earth is. That is the method, uranium lead dating.
Oh, okay, all right.
And it's like super straightforward too. Like the science is very very understandable. Like if you know even an ounce of chemistry, like it's super easy to follow.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the world through the lens of give the Bible a chance, take it as, and I'm saying take it as literal. Hey, take it as literal and see if it fits. And it kind of does.
Except it doesn't, because then you go find rocks that don't make sense given the biblical story.
But then you find a cliff face that's got strata of rock that are millions of years old from the top to the bottom, but a tree standing straight, a fossilized
tree. Except they're not millions of years old. That's the point. Those strata are not. Not all strata are millions of years old.
Well, this particular example that the creationists say, they'll say you won't see this in the Smithsonian, but here's a whole layers of
it's talked about all the time.
25 meters high.
So sedimentary rock, especially that kind of rock where you find these upright trees, these occur in floodplains. And so those trees were buried very quickly. These are not cases where the bottom layer is supposed to be millions of years old and the top layer is supposed to be recent. That's just not what the claim is. It's a straw man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but every also fossilization has to happen rapidly.
My point is that you should look at the science that you shouldn't look for science that proves your worldview right. You should look for science that proves your worldview wrong. That's how you do science, right?
I see what you're saying.
Otherwise, you're just doing confirmation bias.
Yeah, well, that's what we've been doing in astrophysics for a while.
I don't think
And
that
the James
you
Webb Telescope comes along,
so I say this with as much respect. I would never speak on anesthesiology. I have a feeling that you know almost nothing about astrophysics in the same way that I know almost nothing about anesthesiology.
Yeah, I'm going up against you. I mean, obviously.
So I would just probably just don't go there. If only because if you ever hear a creationist talk about James Webb, just ask them what the Lyman break is, and if they can't answer your question, then you should ignore them.
Right.
Otherwise,
well,
they're just not equipped. They're just not equipped to discuss it, right?
Right. I want to actually. It's so funny. The verse of the day popped up on my iPhone screen, and it said, we contemplate the things that are seen and the unseen. For the things that are seen are temporal, and the things that are unseen are everlasting. And now that's what I also want to express to you. It's going to be very difficult for you to access a data set from the supernatural from this realm. There are two realms, and
I'm not asking for data set. I'm not asking for data from the supernatural. I'm just asking for somehow this natural data set to be made sense of by somebody who believes that the Earth is young.
Yeah, no, I mean, what about the dinosaurs, right?
No, I'm asking about uranium lead dating specifically.
I like I say, I don't know too much about that. So
and you'll find, by the way. Look, I'm not trying to win or whatever. The point is isn't it puzzling to you that you've never heard about this when this is literally the method that was used to figure out the age of the Earth?
I know that they used. I didn't know it was lead, uranium lead, but I knew that that's how they aged rocks.
But you had never even heard it. This is the piece of evidence that gets us to the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. This is the piece of evidence. So the fact that you don't know the first thing about it, shouldn't that worry you that you haven't heard about this? That you haven't heard about debunks of uranium lead dating or whatever in all of your investigations about the Earth being young? But you've heard about these vertical tree fossils. You've heard about these issues with carbon dating. You've heard about all of this other stuff. Why haven't you? And by the way, it's not just you. Basically, every creationist I've ever spoken with has no idea what uranium lead dating is.
I knew it was some kind of. I thought it was technetium, but
no.
Yeah. Okay. If you say it's uranium lead, it's radioisotope decay. That's what it is, basically, of rocks. It's slightly different to carbon 14 dating, which relies on something eating and taking carbon 14 in and then dying, and normal carbon 14 coming into the thing, and then you measure the decay. So it's the same with rocks, but I'm sorry, I just didn't know it's uranium lead.
No, but look, you don't have to apologize.
Something.
You don't have to apologize. I understand that we don't know what we don't know. But my point is this is an overarching trend that I've noticed. I've spoken with a lot of young Earth creationists, hundreds, perhaps thousands. And I've met exactly one who has ever even heard of uranium lead dating or could tell me anything about it, right? And that is weird, right? If your claim is that the scientific stuff, all of this scientific stuff, oh, and by the way, almost all of the young Earth creationists, they can tell me about these vertical fossils. They can tell me about, all of the flaws with the carbon dating. They can tell me all of these issues with evolution. But the one piece of evidence that actually gets us to 4.5 billion years old, none of them know about. That should really puzzle you. It should make you really wonder why that is. Why is it that you know all of these random debunks for these other things, but you've never even looked into uranium lead dating?
Yeah. Well, like I say, I can follow science to a certain. When I start feeling like science is taking me too far from the home plate, I feel like science is asking me to take a leap of faith. So, I'll definitely go research that. And but the thing is, it's look, you were talking about the Egyptians and stuff like that. We've clearly lost knowledge. We think we've gained knowledge, but we've clearly lost knowledge over the last 10,000 years. Science cannot tell me how they moved that rock from point A to point B. Such a simple thing.
What do you mean? And not only can we tell you, we actually have records from the person who did it. We have the writings
No, it
from
cannot be done.
one of the people who did it.
And, like, we don't know how they built the pyramids. Whereas if you go to the
Yeah, we do.
Bible,
Wait, yeah, we do.
a giant
No,
could build
we know how
pyramids
they
in
built
no
the
time.
pyramid. We know
No,
how
we
they built
don't.
the pyramids. We have the diary of one of the
How?
foremen. Have you not heard of this? This was discovered in 2014. It's called the Diary of Merer, which is like super cool, by the way. I'm surprised you haven't heard about this. If you're into this kind of thing.
What is it? Ramp
It's
or
just
whatever.
it's a papyrus logbook written, by the way, from over 4,500 years ago by a guy named Merer. And he was like a foreman or like an inspector. He was a guy that was in charge of a work team that was moving stones from the quarry up the Nile to the pyramids.
Yeah, sure. But how they raised them, we're not quite sure. We're not quite sure.
With
How they
ramps.
actually built the actual pyramid. How they get... Yeah, but the actual mass of the ramp would exceed the volume of the pyramid after like 60% height. It's ridiculous.
Not if you wrapped around.
And there's... well, there is that as well. Someone's now saying the latest thing on TikTok, if you go look at, they built the pyramids from the inside out. But there's other monoliths that were moved and or abandoned in quarries.
Have you seen? There's a guy. I forget his name. I think he's a British guy, actually. Maybe he's American. But he basically built a Stonehenge in his backyard just using like levers.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's really not hard to lift things if you have like a basic understanding of leverage.
There's like temples in India that have been made one shot out of a rock with the most.
Well, yeah, so they carve them out of the rock.
Around.
Yeah.
No, we need like a laser 3D thingy.
Why would you need a 3D laser? You can just carve it.
The carving was too intricate. Way too intricate.
What do you mean? What do you mean the carving is too intricate? I've seen these things. I've seen these things in person, like in Southeast Asia. Like you say that they're too intricate. Like chisels have been the same for
like
5,000 years.
One mistake to start again. There's no second chances.
Chisels have been the same for 5,000 years. And by the way, they're very like, you can absolutely like cover up mistakes when you're doing statue work.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, so look, well, the comforting thing about all of this is that the Catholic Church and the church in general will tell you that this is a non-salvation issue. It's really just your belief in Jesus Christ. And what I wanted to say to you is that it sounds like you're searching and that you're looking for answers. We are in the physical realm. The spiritual realm permeates the physical, and at the end of time, the two realms will merge. So, like, that's why there's been such weird imagery in the Bible, like angels that are wheels with eyes. So,
isn't that in the Book of Enoch? And isn't that not canonical for you?
No, that's actually I think it's Ezekiel's vision of the chariot of God. He sees the orphanum. So that
might be Ezekiel. You're right.
So they will.
I can never keep Ezekiel and Enoch. Yeah, you're right. It's Ezekiel.
So you're right, exactly. So they are in another dimension to us, but we're right next to one another, and that's what they say they're trying to do at CERN, open portals. We know that.
No, wait, hold on. Nobody at CERN said that.
I didn't want to straw me. Yeah, well, they didn't say that, but
so then why did you say that they said that?
Well, they worship god of Shiva, and
nobody. I mean, I'm sure there are Indian people at like Hindus at CERN, but like no, they don't worship the god of Shiva. CERN does not worship the god of Shiva.
There's a massive thing.
Yeah, they were given a gift by the Indian government. What are they supposed to do? Say no?
They're trying to open portals, man. So,
get out of here, Joss.
We
get out of here. You're gone. I don't think that he was trolling the whole time, but definitely by the end he was trolling a little bit. One sec. Sorry about that. All right, let's read some super chats and then we will move on to our next guest. From the last judge with the 5 British pounds. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Dr. Pizza sends the $2. Guest needs to check his setup for gas leaks. Always check for gas leaks. From the last judge again with the 5 pounds. Hey Blitz, just curious, what first interested you in science and theology? Sorry if you have already answered this. I might have just missed it. Well, science, I've been interested in science since I was a kid. Like since as far back as I can remember. As far as like theology, like growing up, I had a friend that was Catholic and a friend that was like, I don't know, some sort of Protestant. And like when we would have sleepovers and stuff, we would talk about a lot of this stuff because I was an atheist then too. And so we would like talk about this stuff. And so it was always just interesting conversations. This was when I was like, 9, 10, 11. So I guess I've always been interested in these kinds of conversations. From Ansiu with the €5, as people of science, why are you talking of one God? There are over 2,000 religions with their own gods. Well, most of the people who speak English believe in a particular God, or perhaps one of 2 gods. From JC Tigerfang with the 10 Canuck bucks, the mental gymnastics that believers use to justify belief when faced with powerful discrepancies is painful. Let's not argue about that law. The Pope doesn't really speak for God all the time. Yeah, that's the issue. There's like Simone Biles stuff happening here. From Dr. Pizza MD again with the $2, Jesus was just sedated for 3 days. Yeah, right? Doesn't take much. An anesthesiologist would know that that's possible. From Germs Rossalina with the 10 Dr. Blitz gift memberships. Thank you so much, Germs. I appreciate you a lot, and I'm sure that everybody who got your gift membership will appreciate you as well. Those 10 people now have access to my debate notes and to the emojis. The debate notes have a whole bunch of sources for details about all of this stuff. So all of these conversations, whether it's flat Earth, young Earth, God, not God, MAGA, whatever, I've put together a whole bunch of sources, arguments, counter-arguments, syllogisms, papers, etc. for all of these topics that I use regularly for myself. And if you want access to them, the way to get access to them is by becoming a YouTube member. It's like $4 or $5 a month. From Nini Guru with the $2, aliens took him to the Americas too. Right. Yeah, and the aliens also brought the palm trees to Hawaii. From Ekipo with the €2, theists live in a fantasy world. To some extent, kind of by definition, yeah. From JC Tigerfang with the 5 Canuck bucks, take the Bible as literal and see if it fits. Shows several examples of where it doesn't fit. Oh, but not those examples, right? And from Literally Lou with the 5 Australian dollars, as always, appreciate you. Well, I appreciate you too, Lou. Thank you for being here. All right, let us bring up our next guest. Didn't I talk to eMart Money recently? Oh, we'll just check. eMart Money, did we talk recently?
Hello?
eMart, did we talk recently?
No? Well, we talked a couple weeks ago, and I was arguing for God, but that was
Did we talk about this topic, about the age of the Earth?
Not to the best of my recollection.
Okay, great. I just don't, it's often conversations just end up rehashed if I talk to the same person about the same thing. So I just try to avoid that. But yeah, if you want to talk about the age of the Earth, we can. eMart, how old do you think the Earth is?
So I think the Earth is 6,000 years old from our perspective, but from a cosmic perspective, 18 billion years old. Can I explain? Because it's complicated because I believe there's
Seems
two
like
different
both of those are
timelines.
wrong. But yes, please explain.
Sorry, not 18 billion from the cosmic perspective. I meant like how old is the Earth from the physicist perspective again?
4.5 billion.
4.5 billion.
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
4.5 billion, yeah.
Okay, so what I mean when I say the Earth is 6,000 years old from our perspective is that my perspective is any intelligible conception of time has to be constructed by the mind because sensible experience requires time, and so for there to be an intelligible amount of time, there has to be humans to measure the time. However, from a cosmic perspective, you can say in some unintelligible way that we can say nothing about, the Earth is older than that.
So I guess the easier question would just be, how many times do you think Earth went around the sun?
From our perspective,
No, I just mean
6,000
total.
times. From our perspective, however many times would lead to 6,000 years.
I don't know what you mean from our perspective. Like, this is the technical phrase is this is a frame independent quantity. How many times Earth went around the sun?
Well, I'm saying I don't believe in a frame independent quantity in the sense of
Well, I don't know what that means. This is like something that's like, this is a physical quantity. It doesn't depend on perspective.
So the Earth went around the sun however many times it need to come to 6,000 years from our perspective.
What is, so when you say from our perspective, are you referring to the 6,000 years or the number of times the Earth has gone around the sun?
I'm saying since humanity began, the Earth has revolved around, the sun has revolved around the Earth 6,000 times.
You said the sun has, do you think that the Earth is flat?
Sorry, I meant the Earth revolves around the sun.
Okay, just checking. Okay, so your claim is that since humanity began, Earth has only gone around the sun 6,000 times or so, right?
Yeah.
How many times total do you think the Earth has gone around the sun?
I don't know. Because
do you think it's more than 6,000?
We only have access to our sense data, and so we can't say what exists independent of the mind.
Does your sense data get you to 6,000 years? Like, can your sense data tell you that humans existed 6,000 years ago?
Well, no, but their sense data.
How do you know? I thought we only had access to our sense data.
Well, we can communicate our sense data with other people.
Right. That's how we do science too.
Yeah.
So like we can use science to figure out how old the Earth is, right? Because we can communicate, one person's sense data can communicate their sense data to somebody else.
Yeah, but the point is that before there were any humans, we can't say how many times the Earth revolved around the sun.
Why not?
Because we can't know. What was that?
Why not?
Because what you're asking is, before there is any intelligible time, how do we make time intelligible?
That's not what I'm asking. I'm just asking how many times the Earth went around the sun. That's just an objective question. That has like an objective answer, right?
But I'm telling you what the real question is.
The real question is how many times Earth went around the sun. This is like an integer. Or how many whole times has the Earth gone around the sun is an integer valued quantity.
For all we're concerned, 6,000 years.
Okay. Well, it sounds like that's incorrect then, because the scientific analysis gets us to around 4.5 billion.
And I'm saying before humans existed, the idea of an intelligible time doesn't make sense.
We're not talking about time though. We're talking about how many. Like, we're talking about a number of events, how many times an event took place.
And time is the measurement of events.
Not necessarily. You can have like 5 events happen simultaneously, and you'd still have 5 of them.
Okay, so, but in any event, no matter what criteria you use, if humanity began 6,000 years ago, we can't then before that we can't say how old the Earth is, because so far we only have access to humanity's record.
We don't have that. By the way, I could have sworn that we had this conversation before, but maybe not. We don't have any records from 6,000 years ago.
Well, we do.
There are no written records that tell us anything about when they were written.
We do. Biblical narrative.
Those were not written 6,000 years ago.
They're describing events that started 6,000 years ago.
That's the claim anyway, but we don't have any records that actually were from 6,000 years ago. Similarly, textbooks describe events that happened, 4 billion years ago, but you don't believe those because they weren't there, right? So why would you believe the authors of the biblical texts if the biblical authors weren't there?
Well, I'm not necessarily saying that there wasn't time in the sense of a cosmic perspective of time before humanity. I'm just saying we have no intelligible way to describe it.
I don't know what you mean we have no intelligible way to describe it. We absolutely do.
Because
I could, for example, say 4 billion years ago, and that's intelligible.
do we use our senses to measure time?
Indirectly, sure.
What was that?
Indirectly, sure.
Okay. Before there were any senses, there can't be measurement of time by definition.
We measure periods of time now about things that were a long time ago. So while it's true there was no one around to measure time 4 billion years ago, we can measure a duration of 4 billion years now. We can measure that 4 billion years has passed. You don't need to have somebody 4 billion years ago to measure that 4 billion years has passed.
But all the existential significance we give to time is in our frame of reference.
I have no idea what that sentence means.
So it's like when the existential significance we give to a moment, there's only in relation to a human moment.
I have no idea what you're saying.
The projections we put onto being, right? The value we put onto being is in relation to our time, our experience of time.
Try again?
Okay. Do we value time that we don't experience?
I don't know what you mean by value time.
Okay, well, if you don't know what the concept of value denotes, then I don't know.
I know what the concept of value denotes. I have no sense of what it means to value time.
Well, I value time all the time, right? For example, I
What does it
value time
mean?
enough. So I value time enough that I won't go around shooting people because that would be a waste of time and that would be immoral.
Yeah, so we value say durations. We value the way that we can use our time. Sure. I don't know what it means to value a moment. And this also seems unrelated to whether or not those moments existed.
Well, if we don't value those times, then they're not existentially significant for us.
Okay, who cares?
Well, then
That doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Well, it depends how you define exist.
Amazing.
Like, it depends on what the word is. It depends on the definition of what the word is. Like, what are we doing?
Okay. So you can say it exists in the sense that we can conceptualize it being mind independent, but it doesn't exist in the sense of being a source of meaning for us.
I don't care about whether it's a source of meaning for us. Also,
Okay.
just to be clear, and I just super want to clarify here, we have records, human writing, or at least proto-writing, that is older than 6,000 years, just to be on the super clear side. So even setting aside this whole like, oh, did time actually exist if people weren't there to whatever, we have human writing that is older than 6,000 years old.
No, we might have Homo sapien writings, but they don't have the soul of a human.
How do you figure from the writing itself, how do you figure out whether the author has a soul? Also, to be clear, Homo sapiens have sense experience. So regardless of whether or not they have the soul of a human, they definitely have sense data.
The Bible teaches the soul was created 6,000 years ago with Adam and Eve.
No, it doesn't. Actually, it teaches that Adam and Eve were created 6,000 years ago. It doesn't teach that the soul was created 6,000 years ago. Also, the Bible doesn't even say that it was 6,000 years ago. That was a, a calculation made by Bishop Ussher, who was an Anglican.
Does the Bible not say that the human soul was created 6,000 years ago?
No, it doesn't. It says nothing of the sort.
Okay, then I could have been confused because I thought it does.
Where have you read the Bible?
Somewhat, but I don't remember that specific part.
How can you make claims about what the Bible said if you haven't read the Bible?
I have. I don't
You just said
remember it in
somewhat.
detail. Then why do Christians then why do not all Christians, but why do some Christians and some religious Jewish people say that and some Mormon people and some Christian people and some all these different religions What did they say that the Earth is like 6,000 years old?
Because they're going off a calculation from like a medieval calculation from a guy named Bishop Ussher, who like uses like when Jesus was born, and then uses like the genealogies provided there, and then it compares them to the genealogies provided in Genesis, and then says that you know, like XYZ happened, blah, like it's just a whole big long calculation. Nowhere in the Bible does it actually say that the Earth is 6,000 or that humans were created or given souls 6,000 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I could have been confused then, because I was under the perception that that's what the biblical teaching is.
No, I mean, like, this is an interpretation that you can get from the Bible. If you like take the Bible and then you do a bunch of math to it and you make certain assumptions, then you can get to like the 6,000 year old age. But in fact, I don't even think in the Bible it says that the human soul was created then. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if there are places in the Bible where it says the human soul has always existed.
What was that?
I wouldn't be surprised if there are places in the Bible that can be read to imply that the human soul has always existed. Like, isn't there a verse about how God knew you before you were born? This is Jeremiah 1, verse 5. Yeah.
That's referring to the fetus, though.
Before I formed you in the womb. No, this is before you were a fetus. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you.
I believe that's referring to reincarnation.
I do not think that reincarnation is compatible with Christianity, by the way.
Well, I know there's certain Kabbalistic teachings about reincarnation, that Jesus was coming from a line of Judaism, so I don't see...
Like, the Kabbalistic teachings come from like somewhere between 600 and 1,000 years after Jesus. So
okay, I thought the idea is that the Kabbalistic teachings go up to Sinai, and
no, I mean they claim that, but like there was no like Kabbalah stuff until like early medieval ages.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if that's the case, if the Bible does not hinge on the idea of a 6,000-year-old Earth, then we don't necessarily know if there's a 6,000-year-old Earth. So I could have been wrong.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, Emart. Take care. I don't know why, but that was painful. All right. Let's read some super chats, and then we'll bring up our next guest. From Poker Shark with the $5. Thank you for your donation. Well, thank you. From Mix Chimmer with the $5. I will never understand the specificity applied. Let me read this again. I will never understand the hyper-specifically applied skepticism. How can you be so incredulous regarding science, but not your Bible claims? Yeah, that is the problem, right? And that's a human problem, to be fair. From Eat Some Shorts with the $5. Some people wait a lifetime for a moment like this. For a moment like what? All right, let us bring up our next guest. Let us talk to Scruffy Duffy. Scruffy Duffy, how's it going?
Good yourself, man?
I'm doing all right. Scruffy, give me just 1 second, okay?
Yeah, I'm taking time, man.
Okay. So Scruffy, how old do you think the Earth is?
I think it's like 4 billion years.
Oh,
but
okay.
My problem is with your mischaracterization. So you said your Bible, our church, lied to
says your church. And I'm not referring to your church. I'm referring to the church of people who believe that the Earth is 6,000 years old.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about like, it's a general statement.
Yeah, no, it's specifically for the people that I'm talking to with this background. But I can see how that could be confusing. But I'm going to let you go. But thank you for being here. All right, let's talk to Scarfia. Scarfia, hello. How's it going?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Scarfia, not a whole lot. Scarfia, how old do you think the Earth is?
6 billion years old, probably.
6 billion years old?
Yeah, I would say each yom or day would probably be 1 billion years to God, I would say.
Okay. But the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Not 6 billion years old.
Yeah, that's my guess. No, that's your guess. Okay.
Well, no,
so
mine's not
we're
a guess.
pretty
Mine's
close.
based on scientific analysis, right?
Well, yeah. Like I said, it's not exact. I don't know what a yom is. Just a session.
Well, no,
and that's
yom
what,
means the word day.
well, it means it's translated as session. It's
Where is it
yom
translated
is
as session?
Yad Vav Mem,
Yeah, I know. Where
which
is
is
it translated
Yad, which
as
is
session?
start. Vav is a connection, and Mem would be an ending to the session.
Yod doesn't mean start. At best, it means hand.
What's that?
It means hand. The word yod means hand.
In one form, yeah. And in Kabbalah, there's 4 different levels to the Hebrew language, and hand is the accepted 4th level. Yes.
So the word yom means day, though, right?
Well, it could mean it's a session, but a day definitely fits the.
I've never seen it translated as session. Can you show me a translation that gives that translation?
No, I actually I study the Bible, and I really don't go by too many other translations.
How much
But
Hebrew
I
do you
think
know?
I think it's a backronym language.
Think it's a backronym language?
Yeah.
Hebrew is a backronym language.
Right. They like Yom.
What does
for
that
example,
mean?
Would be a backronym like CIA. CIA would be Central Intelligence Agency. Yom would be.
Well, that's not a
Yad
backronym.
Vav.
That's an
Yad Vav.
initialism, to be precise.
Well, no, a backronym. If you look at the
A
just the actual-
backronym. A backronym is when you have a word and then you make up something that stands for that, or you make up something that for which that word stands.
Precisely.
So
That's exactly
so
what
like
I
if
think
I
the
wanted
Hebrew
to
language
make
is.
like if I wanted to, I don't know, if I wanted to make an agency and the agency was called evil, I would choose evil as the name, and then I would
Right.
come up with words that spell out evil. So it would be
That's
like
correct.
it would be like the European Virtual Internet Legion or something.
Exactly.
And that would be a backronym.
Precisely. That's exactly what I'm
So-
saying is what Hebrew
So
is.
how can you have a language that's entirely backronyms without having words first?
That's the brilliance of the Hebrew language. I believe it's in 4 levels, and I believe that that's the brilliance of it. And not only that, there's already 4. I think there's 4 mathematical levels too, because of the numbers. I believe it's also the periodic table is also.
It seems like you believe a lot of things. Is there evidence for any of this?
Well, I mean, I think when if you apply this backronym logic to the Bible, I think everything will make perfect
So what's
sense
the
to you.
evidence that this backronym stuff is true?
Well, like I said, when you apply it, you'll see that.
But that's not
the
how
Bible
we
starts
do
making
evidence.
Better sense to you because, like, for example, what you talked about is 6,000 years old. Now, the sun wasn't created until the 4th day. So, what exactly are you counting on the?
That's a really
first
good
3
question.
days?
I actually have absolutely no idea what the original authors were intending.
Right, and then the 3rd day.
But to be
God-
clear, it seems like you're trying to dodge away from the claim that you made, which is that like Hebrew is a backronym language. And I just want to see some evidence of this. Like there are people who, you know, spend their entire lives studying Hebrew, learning biblical Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, Proto-Hebrew, Akkadian, Hittite, all of these things. Never heard this claim from any of them.
It's too bad, isn't it?
Well, it just makes me a little skeptical.
It's kind of like a waste of brain power. I think most people.
I would say
you
the
know.
same about what you're doing. It just makes me a little
Really?
skeptical.
Just like
Yeah.
exploring an angle like that is a waste of brain. Really?
I mean,
Wow.
the same way that you just said it's a waste of brain power to study like ancient Hebrew.
I didn't say that.
Right.
I said it's a waste of brain power to to take all of the different ideas into account. It's a waste of brain. You have to pretty much look at everything, you know, and
You have to look at
not-
everything. So do I have to look to see if like there is a I don't know, like a invisible teapot orbiting Jupiter?
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Well, yeah. Like, what if there's an invisible teapot orbiting Jupiter?
Yeah, that literally makes no sense to me.
What makes no sense about it? It's a teapot. It's invisible. It's orbiting Jupiter.
Well, that's good. I mean,
So like, is it a waste of brain power to like investigate that or no?
well, the thing is, it's that particular situation What evidence do you have to make that claim?
Ah, you're right. You know, I should provide evidence if I'm going to make an absurd claim like that. Can you provide evidence for your absurd claim
what
that
I'm saying
Hebrew
is
is a
just try it.
bacrimic language?
Literally, try to literally break down the language and see what you come up with.
Look, so
that's all I'm saying.
This doesn't
It's not an
even work.
absurd
Like
claim.
this has an issue logically, because if the entire language is backronyms, then none of the backronyms would ever stand for anything. You could never
Like I
derive
said,
meaning from an entire language of backronyms.
Like I said, it's 4 different levels. Like the Kabbalah language is 4 different levels. The 4th language is consciousness. The first level is quantum. The second level is chemistry. The third level is biology. The 4th level is consciousness. And that's how the Bible is supposed to be read.
I'm gonna have a stroke.
Yeah, it's just too. I understand this is way outside of your probably your thought process.
No, it just seems kind of like absurd, and it seems
Really?
like you're
Why
not
don't you
providing
try-
any
all
justification
I'm
for any
asking
of
you
this.
is just give it a shot.
Give
I'm
what
not
a shot?
asking you to-
Shrooms?
What's that?
I said give what a shot? Shrooms?
No, try to read the Bible this time using it as a background language.
Okay, so how the hell do you expect me to treat Hebrew as a bacrimic language if that means that there are no words, every word is just another backronym?
I guess you're just not understanding. The 4th level is
Okay,
word,
so
and that's the reason why the translation breaks down.
Let's say that Yom is a backronym. What does the Yud stand for?
Well, the Yud stands for a lot of things. It stands for spark.
In the backronym Yom, what does it stand for?
Okay, it stands for spark. It stands for beginning.
No, I'm asking for the
hand.
Hebrew word that it stands for, right? Because it's a Hebrew word.
Yeah, the Hebrew word, right?
Yeah. So what Hebrew word does the Yud stand for? You know how the C in Central Intelligence Agency, the C in CIA stands for Central. What does the Yud in Yom stand for?
Well, it stands for.
It sounds
beginning.
like you don't know. Oh, what's the Hebrew word that it stands for?
Beginning.
Beginning's not a Hebrew word. That's an English word.
So there's no. See, every in Hebrew, there's.
I thought you studied Hebrew. If you think that it's a bacrimic language, I would imagine that you know what the backronym stands for, right?
Well, I just explained it to you, but somehow.
What's the Hebrew word that it stands for? That the Yud stands for? That's not a Hebrew word. That's an English word.
So Bereshit is not is
That's a Hebrew word.
That's it.
That's a Hebrew word, but it doesn't start with a Yud. So how does Yud stand for Bereshit?
Does that mean in the beginning?
It depends on the inflective tone and things like this. It's complicated.
Well, like I said, if you use it as a background language, it'll come out exactly what it's
well,
supposed to be.
Look, I don't know why you're not answering my question. If I told you that the C in CIA stands for pancake, would you be confused?
So you're not understanding that yod or yod. There's 4 different. There's a lot of different words that can be.
Wait, please answer my question.
There's a lot of different definitions of the word. Hand is one of them. Hand is an English
please
word.
Answer my question. Would you be confused
hand is an English
if I
word.
said that?
Beginning is an English word.
If I said that
spark is an English word.
I said that the letter C in CIA stands for pancake, would you be confused?
So basically, you're just not listening to what I'm saying.
Can you answer my question?
Would I be confused if
I said that the letter C in the acronym or the backronym CIA stands for pancake, would that be confusing to you?
Yes.
Okay. Why would it be confusing to you?
Okay. Now this is What is this going to teach you? Really? What is this line of questioning?
It's an illustrative example.
What is it
I promise it'll be relevant. I promise it'll be relevant. Can you explain why it would be confusing?
What is it going to teach you, though?
Okay, if you don't want to answer, I'll answer for you. The reason why it would be confusing is because pancake doesn't start with the letter C, right?
Hand doesn't start with Y either.
Now, you told me that the Yud in Yom stands for Bereshit. Now, Bereshit starts with the letter...
I didn't say that. I said Bereshit. What does Bereshit mean to you?
You did say that. We can go watch the replay if you want.
What does Bereshit mean to you? I said Yod is very specific.
Okay, so then what does the Yud? What does the Yud?
Apex.
What does the Yud in Hebrew?
For Yod.
What does the Yud in Yom stand for? What is the Hebrew word that the word yud stands for?
I just told you.
Tell me again. I forgot.
Spark or beginning.
Those aren't Hebrew words. I want the Hebrew word, please. Take your time.
You are making zero sense.
I'm asking maybe I can clarify by another example. If I said that the C in the acronym CIA stood for nosotros, would you be confused?
I'm confused at you, kind of. You know, how your
I
existence.
can tell.
How
can a Hebrew letter stand for an English word?
So mem doesn't mean river. So nothing. No, you can't define any Hebrew word, right?
You can absolutely define Hebrew words. You can translate Hebrew words or you can define them.
Does mem
Both
mean
of them
river
are fine.
to you?
I don't speak Hebrew fluently. Maybe it translates to the word river. I suspect not. Although maybe it does. Mayim means water.
Absolutely. Yam actually is river, but actually is pronounced yam.
Well, we can just check this. And maybe you're right. That's the right word. But let's just flip this.
I don't know what your line of questioning.
So
how are you
the Hebrew word for river is nahar. So I don't know why you said it was mem.
Wikipedia man over here.
I didn't use Wikipedia.
Whatever.
Yeah, yam is sea. Mayim is water, if I remember correctly. Water is mayim.
Yem is water. But anyway,
no, mayim is water.
Mem is river. Yeah.
No,
but
mem
anyway,
is not river. Nahar is river.
Basically, what I'm saying is that you really, if you really want to explore and find out, what the Bible is talking about, you may want to check this backronym language out because it'll.
You haven't even explained what the backronym bit is. How can I ever investigate anything? You haven't even told me what the yud and yom stands for.
I just told you many times. Apex, it means apex. It means spark.
But those are English words. What's the Hebrew word that it stands for? Because a Hebrew letter can't stand for an English word.
Well, now I understand why you believe the Big Bang is.
Because I use my brain rationally, I guess. I guess that is understandable.
No, because you listen.
Can you answer the question honestly? What does the yud stand for in Hebrew?
I told you what it meant 100 times, but you don't care. You don't seem to care.
You've said one Hebrew word this entire time, and that's Bereshit. And then I asked you if you said that Bereshit is what yud stands for in Yom, and you said no. So tell me, what's the Hebrew word that the yud and Yom stands for?
Yom.
Good. I'm glad, because Bereshit starts with a bet, not a yud. So what does the yud stand for?
How many times am I going to have to explain this to you there, partner?
You should, whatever you say next should be a Hebrew word. That would really help.
Oh man, it's just amazing. It's
okay. So you're just gonna dodge again?
I don't know what I can't really educate you on what it is. I can't dodge. I'm not dodging anything.
You're definitely dodging answering the question. Because the question is, what is the Hebrew word that yud stands for in the word yom? Your claim is that the word yom is a backronym. Therefore, that means that each letter in the word yom must stand for something. And it must stand for something in Hebrew. So I need you to tell me what it stands for in Hebrew.
It stands for hand. Baba.
Okay, so that's what it stands for. Okay, so and then what does Vav stand for? What does Vav stand for?
Well, Vav is a connector. Vav. There is no O in the Hebrew language, so they use the Vav.
Vav is so, but it stands for something, right?
It's a connector, yeah.
What does it stand for?
Door.
It stands for door. Okay, so we have hand, door, and what does the mem stand for?
Divine. I can't remember what it means exactly, but divine conclusion or something like that, or.
Mem stands for divine conclusion.
I can't remember the exact word. It's divine something.
Okay, hold on.
But
We can just.
That's what it means in the Hebrew language.
Hold on. We're just going to pull something up really quick. Here we go. Is it this one?
There's a lot of different, like I said, there's 4 different levels to each.
I know you want to backtrack, right? Because it's going to be rough.
I'm trying to teach you.
Well, you're not doing a good job.
No, I'm not. My student is having a hard time.
Yes, it's the student's fault. So apparently, yod means hand, vav means hook, and mem means like transformation, maybe water.
Exactly. Yeah, see, your vav is your connector. Your yod
vav is not a connector though. Vav is a hook.
Connector.
A hook is like a noun.
No, it's a connector. Connected. Hook connects things.
A hook hooks things.
Yeah, well, connects things. Yeah, connects things. Yeah, it's a connector.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
So
it means hook or peg,
so basically,
right?
what
Like it's
I'm
like a
saying
thing that
is
you
if
stick
you
in the
go-
ground.
Yes. So if you go home and you start learning,
So
this
we
background
agree that it
language,
means
so
means
you
like
go home and learn this background language, you might be able to figure out the Bible. And I'm just giving you some sort of a food for thought, really.
I appreciate the thoughts for the food that you're giving me.
Yeah. Plus, and the Earth is 6 billion years old,
Amazing.
or close to 6 billion years old, not 6,000.
Amazing.
Not only that,
anyway,
Genesis is
so yo means
Genesis-
hand hook water, and that apparently means 1 billion years.
Like I said, there's 4 different levels to the language, but you're just not hearing that part, I guess. Hand is also, spark is also yod. Spark is also
I don't think
yod.
so.
Okay. Yes,
I've never seen that as a
absolutely it is.
translation for the word.
Apex is also yod. Apex is also
We can just punch in the word spark in. So the word spark is apparently le orer.
No, just look at the different uses for the word yod or yod, and then spark is one of them.
Where is it
There's
used that way?
different- Like I said, just Google it. It'll come up, believe me.
Here. How are you spelling yod, by the way?
YOD.
I mean in Hebrew.
Yad Vav Daleh.
Okay, so you're spelling it with a vav in the middle. Okay, that's fine. So I just need to go find my Hebrew alphabet really quick, or my Hebrew. It's Dalet, by the way, not Daleh. It's not French. Let me just go find a vav, and just so because I don't have a Hebrew keyboard, so I have to just copy and paste. So, and I want to. I need a yud as well.
Bible's just mistranslated. That's all. Kabbalah is doing a good job trying to translate it, but they're getting. That's the only translation you should probably. We have missing knowledge from the Bible.
So, Yod Vav Dalet apparently means iodine. I don't know if you know this. Yod Vav Dalet translates to iodine in English.
That's awesome. See, that's another angle you can look at. You can look at the actual numbers of Yod Vav Dalet, and then you can see how it is analog to iodine.
No, it doesn't. It's not because of numbers.
Because the periodic table is wrapped into the entire Hebrew language, and so are angles.
It's not.
So is geometry.
Wait, so we can actually just go find. We can go do a Hebrew gematria calculator if you want. I can just punch in that Hebrew word, and I imagine that the number that you'll get for Yod Vav Dalet is 20, and that has nothing to do with iodine. Iodine is element number 53.
So what'd you do? Add them up?
there are rules for gematria. You understand this, yeah?
Well, you see, those rules, once again, you have to look outside the box, kind of like your Big Bang, you got to look outside of it, in order to really get the truth. Obviously, if the translations were correct, everybody would know already, but they
So,
aren't
I mean,
correct.
so I'm just using Mispar Hachrachi, which is, the standard gematria. So you have Aleph is 1, Bet is 2, Gimel is 3, Dalet is 4, A is 5, Vav is 6, Zayin is 7, Chet is 8, etc. And then you have that Pei is 80, you have Tzadik is 90, you have Kaf is Kaf is 100, Resh is 200, etc. Like this is like the standard stuff. So
Right. 100, 200,
and
300,
you
those
end
are
up
the
with
4
20.
different levels.
You end up with 20.
No, that's gematria. That's what, once again.
Yeah, that's
once
what you were
again,
doing.
have to- No, I'm.
So then how'd you get the number
I'm not
53?
doing gematria. No, what I said was, if you take a look at the numbers, not using gematria, but taking a look at your brain, you can figure it out. If you do, you can come up with iodine. That would be.
if you just make up the numbers, you'll get
Not make
53
up,
somehow.
I'm saying that is one of the ways you can verify the language. The yod
You just blowing from stupid town?
is the key to the entire Hebrew language. Yod He Vav He is the key to the entire to decoding the entire language.
Yep, I'm sure it is. Thanks for being here, Scarfia. Yikes. All right, y'all, let's read some super chats. From Chessbutt with the 5 Dr. Blitz Debunks gift memberships. By the way, there are 2 YouTube accounts. One of them is the main YouTube account, if you will. This is the one where the vertical live streams are, and this is the one where I post my science shorts. That's the @Blitz PhD account. Then there's the secondary, kind of like the debate account, which is @Dr. Blitz Debunks. That's where Chessbutt just sent 5 Dr. Blitz Debunks gift memberships. It's like $4 or $5 a month to become a member. Thank you so much, Chessbutt. So that's like $25. And if you get those memberships, you get access to my debate notes, and you get access to emojis, and those are cool ways to support me and cool ways to learn new stuff. So I appreciate you, Chessbutt, and I'm sure everybody else who got your donation will as well. Yes, I have to make sure to not miss my Cash App stuff. And from Sweezy Chod with the $50. Thank you so much, Sweezy. That's so generous of you. I appreciate it. Blitzy, love you and all the work you do. Hoping for a speedy and easy recovery for you. Me too. I mean, I feel fine, but, we'll see how I feel next week. You never know. From Mr. Peiko, as always, good to see you. Thank you for the $20, bud. It's so dishonest to try to wrap this argument in the veneer of legitimacy by making it close to science. If you say Yom means a billion years because you think it's a session, why not 10 to the 122 years? 37 years? 5 seconds? Exactly, right? That's exactly the issue. He wasn't trying to do science. He was just doing something. From Furtive Pata with the $5, I always thought Hebrew was a Semitic language, not a backronymic language. Yeah, right? Fair point. From Chase with the $2, heard of Church of LDS? This is Church of LSD. From Joshua Everett with the $2, the C stands for pancake. Dr. Blitz 2025.
Amazing.
From Chessbutt with the $5, my bet is that the teapot is orbiting Vulcan. Ah, that makes sense. That would make sense. And from Furtive Pata again with the $5, pull up a random Torah verse in Hebrew. If guests can't immediately read it, drop them. Oh, of course he can't read Hebrew. Of course, don't be silly. From Mr. Peiko again. Pecho, sorry. Actually, I think it's Peiko, right? I've heard the origin story of your name, and I think it'd be most accurately pronounced Peiko. Anyway, thank you for the $20, bud. After how fully off the rails this conversation went, my previous criticism seems pretty banal. Yeah. From Empiricist with the $2, his vote counts just as much as yours. Look, everybody's vote should count equally. We just need to educate people better. Whack Reed sent $2, which I appreciate greatly. And let me drink some water really quick. So refreshing. All right, let's just double check our Cash App and all of that stuff. just to make sure I didn't miss anything. So we got $5 from Christian. Thank you, Blitz, for all you do. I learn something new every stream. I try my best. I'm not going to read your last name, but I appreciate you, Christian. We have $25 from Miss Moss, sending positive vibes, which I appreciate greatly. Miss Moss, that's very much appreciated. And then we have a few cash apps as well. One from Granazana with the $5 for The Earth Began When You Were Born. It did. The Earth is 32 years old, folks. That is how old the Earth is. Anybody who's older, your memories are fake. And from Grimlocks for saw the hydration, but I promote waterboard. All right, let me waterboard myself. Okay, actually, it turns out I can't really intentionally waterboard myself, but if you want to see people waterboarding other people, let me rephrase. If you want to see somebody waterboarding themselves, go look up, I don't know, people think that he's the grandson of Elvis, and he just waterboards himself on the regular. It's very funny. He's on TikTok. I don't remember his name. Somebody will know in the chat. He always looks, okay, hold on. Let me just see if I can pull it up. Grandson of Elvis. I don't remember his name. Chewy Thompson. That's his name. He's very funny. Here.
All right. Everybody's gonna like ketchup.
Hold on, I gotta see one of him actually just like failing to drink water properly. Here we go.
Like I said, some people are gonna like it, some people aren't. Drink it? You really want me to drink it, man? Let's do it.
Just watch.
Disgusting. Got a problem, man?
See, he waterboards himself. So yeah, if you want to see more of that, go look up Chewy Thompson on TikTok. He's very funny. I don't know why. I don't know why he does it. Everybody says that he has rabies. He doesn't have rabies. It's just a bit. Anyway, y'all, I am going to end the live. It is past noon. I need to go eat some lunch, make some coffee. Just going to do one more double check to make sure I didn't miss any cash apps or anything along those lines. Okay, no, we're good. So I won't see you guys until Sunday, but Sunday is going to have 2 live streams. There's the standard unapologetic live stream that will be Sunday morning, and then there's a further atheist experience live stream that the unapologetic crew will be on Sunday afternoon/evening. So make sure to go watch those. I will send out announcements in the Discord server. If you're not already there, go to discord.gg/drblitz. It's a great way to get the announcements about the live streams and about the videos that I post. In the meantime, have a good weekend, guys. I'm going to go take care of some appointment stuff. Bye-bye.